The journey to the championship comes down to 3 drivers that have the coveted chance at making history of their own. With a turn to one of the hottest locations on the schedule and the fight for the title on the line. The spotlight shines on beautiful Phoenix Raceway, where tonight we give you the penultimate race in the Season 6 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series. 26 down, 2 left in the quest for 4Wide's biggest prize. We're glad to have you with us tonight on the KBueno Racing Network, where alongside Francisco Bacallao in the booth, I'm Kenneth Bueno. This is it, Francisco. 2 races left. We have whittled the playoff competition to just the big 3, and this could either be the make or break race for either of them as we set up for the finale at Homestead of Miami next Wednesday.
We're here out west at the Phoenix Raceway, Kenneth, and you're right about that. After today, we'll know exactly where we stand as the championship moves to its finale in South Florida. To paint the picture as crystal clear as possible the entire way, there you see the schedule. We've gone through 27 of our 29 races already, and you see just Phoenix here tonight. 200 laps. It's going to be a long one, and 167 next week to determine who is our Season 6 champion at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So it's going to be important for these guys to really take this opportunity, because after today, you only have the Homestead Miami Speedway. And you were right, we're down to essentially 3 guys in the main battle for the championship, that being Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno. As you see the points there, Ethan Fonseca was 13 points back after last week, but after the penalty assessment by the admin crew done throughout the week, they took away a 4X that happened post-race after the Pocono race, which gave Ethan Fonseca 1 extra point in that regard. So now he's 12 points behind. Kyle Benson remains 9 points back, and then you see Jaden Porter 38 points back, just a little bit too far out to catch up to Lawson Peel in these next 2 races, but he is essentially clear for the 4th spot, and it's a dogfight when you look from 5th on back between Brandon Banks and Patrick Thompson, who are actually currently tied for that 5th position.
You know, we've talked all season long and all playoffs long about the top drivers in the point standings. The championship certainly matters at the utmost importance for these guys, but the fight for top 10 in standings, if you're out of reach of guys like Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson, or Ethan Fonseca Moreno, that battle matters. So we'll be touching in with those guys as we move forward to tonight's race. And then you look all the way down to the running order, those who have fallen plus 100 points behind Peel. Michael Newbaugh at 106. The league owner Tyler Murray, who has fallen to 124. But Pocono really was the statement, Francisco, for who would be in contention for the championship heading into Phoenix, and obviously as well how the battles shaped up to give each driver their respective position and points gaps. But before we have to talk about what happened between your top 3 in Moreno, Benson, and Peel, we do have to discuss what happened with the race winner, and it was the 98 of Brandon Hawken getting his 5th win of the season at Pocono Raceway, the most out of any rookie driver that we've seen in this series, Francisco. It is certainly impressive to see exactly what Brandon Hawken has been able to do week in and week out. Pocono was no exception.
Doesn't look like a rookie the way he's been racing out there since he joined the series, just contending for just about every single win in every single race he's participated in. So if he does make that full-time run next season, which we have some news we'll share with everybody at a later time regarding next season, but if he does make that run next season, he certainly is going to be one of those top drivers contending for the championship in about a year or so from now. But if it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't in the playoffs, Kenneth, I think that would probably give him that Rookie of the Year. I think undoubtedly just due to the point standings and how that shakes up, I think it is going to be the driver of the 21.
It most notably will. And Ethan had the fight of his life at the Tricky Triangle last Wednesday with Lawson Peel, the Season 4 champ, and Kyle Benson. This was earlier in the race on lap number 23. Peel going to the inside in turn 3 on Benson. And these 3 would almost be inseparable, Francisco, throughout the entire race. What stood out to you the most as we continue to watch the battles between the 21 and the 12 that happened all night long and took us all the way to the checkered flag?
They're definitely experimenting with different strategies in each race because they know they're so competitive and they're so evenly matched that you have to do something different to get an advantage against your competition, whether it's getting track position or better tires. And right here, this was towards the end of the race when the 21 had better tires and had to run down Lawson Peel. And this is the move he was making to the inside with 20 laps to go. Shortly later after this, the caution would come out and split strategies would occur. And this is after a couple of restarts. Ethan Fonseca once again trying to make the move on Lawson Peel with 2 laps to go, which would ultimately be a very huge move, as that would put him what is currently now 12 points behind instead of what could have been possibly 15 or more. And it really could have been a dire situation for the 21. But moves like that are what make these playoffs possible. You have to make those moves when it matters, just to give yourself the extra couple of points and set yourself up for the next battle.
It's always about making sure you get to that next race, and for all 3 of those drivers, it certainly helped. We shed the spotlight on Moreno and Peel, most notably throughout the race, even in those final laps when Brandon Hawken certainly had a runaway. We were also talking about Kyle Benson, his strategy to stay out late in the race. It worked out to his benefit, hence why he's only 9 points away from the standings leader in Lawson Peel. This is just the second time that Benson has been within single digits. He wasn't able to convert last time. We'll see if he can this time around. But this track certainly doesn't string up good memories for the driver of the 38. It was a shocker at Phoenix last time we were here for the penultimate race of Season 5. Here is how all that went.
The green flag is out. Who's going to make the championship 5?
This is helping Kyle Benson, by the way, pull away to the tune of 0.7 of a second. Kinsey's in the wall! Right into Benson, who's going to go sideways. Brandon Banks gets by, and in the final 2 corners, Brandon Banks is going to his 3rd straight Championship 5 winner from Phoenix. My goodness.
Wow.
I don't know if anyone, Francisco, could have predicted the way that that last lap went. We thought Kyle Benson basically had the win in the bag to transfer all of that momentum to Homestead, and all of a sudden, out of turn 2, Cody Kinsey crashes in front of him. Benson goes right slamming into that 93, and on by goes Brandon Banks, who employed a crazy strategy. We didn't know if it would even work in the first place, but it did, and it sent Brandon Banks to the Championship 5. It shows you that not only is Phoenix a great track for a penultimate race, because anything can happen, but also strategy opens up a lot here as well, just like we saw at Pocono not too long ago.
And Brandon Banks had Craig Lownslugger all over his tail, who was trying his best to do just the exact same thing, get a race win. He was already into the Championship 5, but that would have put Banks out in that situation. So, but it just goes to show how at any moment anything can happen. Kyle Benson thinking that the win was his, and unfortunately gets involved in that incident. In that case, he was able to stay in the championship fight after having enough points to get in. So no harm done on that day, except just the emotions of not going to the race victory. But he still had a very good performance here when we last visited this racetrack in this situation. So it wouldn't surprise me again if we saw the driver of the 38 once again be contentious. When we came here in the spring under the sunlight, it was a dominant effort by the KBueno Racing driver and Luke Canup, who is not here tonight. And we saw TJ Bursk go to victory lane on that occasion. What is it going to be like tonight?
So far, we've seen BBR top practice and top a bit of qualifying too between Ethan Fonseca Moreno and his teammate, defending champ, in Jaden Porter. So we'll see how that all shakes out as they start to mix in with the rest of the field, and we'll get drivers on track shortly. Let's get you a look at Phoenix Raceway from the overhead shot, courtesy of our KBRN track map with images provided to us by Google Earth. This track sits at 1 mile, reconfigured back in 2017 to move the start-finish line out of what used to be turns 1 and 2. Now at turns 3 and 4, this track opened back in 1964, has hosted the NASCAR finale for multiple years since 2020, and banking of 8 to 10 degrees in turns 1 to 2, 10 to 11 in turns 3 and 4. And like we've mentioned many times before when we race here, Francisco, the open dogleg, it is all paved asphalt down there, no signs of grass like there used to be, so it means open real estate for anyone to go down there, experiment, use all that momentum to gain track position. And we know how much fireworks that has caused the last times we have been here.
Oh, that can really give you some opportunities to get some position on guys going into turn one, but it narrows up very quickly when you get to turn 1 and 2. It's so flat, but a long corner. You really want to be on the outside there so you can get the momentum for the back straightaway and really power yourself down that back straightaway into turn 3. So there's many options to choose. We haven't really ran this track since they did the oval racing refresh, so it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes up everything here. But I think that we're going to see that same kind of experimentation. The key difference is going to be by the time this race is over, most of this race is going to be ran in the darkness. When we came here earlier this season, it was all under the sunlight, a lot slicker of a racetrack in that situation. But nonetheless, it's going to be tricky out here, even though it is November in Sim. But as you can see on your front row, there's no shortage of your contending drivers. That's Ethan Fonseca and Lawson Peel on the front row for tonight.
Well, here we go. Trackside, we bring you the starting grid for tonight's semi-final race in the 4-Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from Phoenix, hosting a playoff race in this series for just the second time in history. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, the top man at the standings in qualifying, 26.886, brings the 21 to the pole tonight. Alongside Lawson Peel, these two have been going back and forth throughout the entirety of the season and the playoffs. Here they are on row number 1 to lead us to the drop of the green flag. Doubled up in row number 2, you will find AJ Green. Great qualifying effort for the 48. He lines up third with Craig Lounslager on his outside in fourth. Jaden Porter looking to try to throw a Hail Mary in his title defense from fifth on qualifying tonight. Brandon Banks on his outside, the winner last time we were here back in 6th place. Row number 4 is where you'll find Daniel Michel in the number 25 machine, flanked alongside by fellow playoff driver Kyle Benson, who's 9 spots out of getting past Lawson Peel in points. Then rounding out your top 10 to 3 of Eric Schaefer and the 00 of Jesse Prees, the pair of DBR teammates.
11th place goes to the 71 of Curtis Kelly. Brandon Hawk in a poor qualifying effort for his standards in the 12th position. Adam Alisher will roll off in 13th with Colin Forster for Stocks Motorsports in the 14th position. Kevin D'Elia will be in 15th. Craig Rowe rolling off in the 16th position, his number 5. Looking in 17th is rookie Ryan Pandisha with fellow rookie Trevor Haley in the 18th spot. And rounding out your top 20 is Christopher Bishop and Tony Kivett.
Look through the rest of the grid. There's Tyler Murray, 21st. Daniel Moore, 22nd. Row 12 is where you'll find Cody Kinsey and Patrick Thompson, who is the first car not to take qualifying time. Newbra and Parks flank the inside and outside of row 13 back to 26th, and Nicholas Vizzuti will have to run this one from the rear in 27th place. Ethan Fonseca Moreno and Lawson Peel, the two contentious playoff runners, will lead us to the green flag for the penultimate race of season 6. It all comes down to this. Apart from Homestead, Miami, will it make or break a chance at a 4-wide title? Off of 4, Moreno and Peel to the green flag. We are playoff racing from Arizona.
That was an excellent start by the driver with a 21. AJ Green with an excellent start from third to get to second place. Lawson Peel got loose off a turn 2. Green is sideways and he's going around.
And the 48 car goes underneath the apron. Everyone scoots on by, but the caution flag comes out immediately at lap number 2. It's a single car spin, and it's AJ Green. The car unraveling before his fingertips doesn't do any significant damage, but nonetheless, we'll throw the yellow out, and we will be under the pace car for the first time tonight before we can really complete 5 laps here from Phoenix Raceway. We're going to look at what happened to Green, but I think it's as simple as you can see Francisco getting by Lawson Peel. Heap of momentum to start. Turns 3 and 4 going for the slide.
And it looks like he got loose under braking, Kenneth, so probably went in there hot, cranked a lot of brake in it with a lot of rear braking, and that's what sent the car loose, and with the cold tires, wasn't really able to save it.
Goes down to the apron. Everybody goes by. A really good place to go for a spin if you're AJ Green, because nobody else could really get into you at that juncture of the racetrack. So Green will fall all the way back to dead last in 27th. There he is as Moreno holds on to the lead. I guess it will basically gift Francisco second place back to Lawson Peel. There's the look at the 48 once again, getting himself back and settled. Brandon Hawken in the number 98 as we are under yellow for the first time here on lap number 3. Not surprising to see yellow flags come out here at Phoenix. Francisco, over the history that we've seen this track in 4-wide competition, a lot of them happening really early in the season when drivers are still sort of getting into their rhythm, give or take, for the campaign. We see a lot of big crashes, specifically in turns 1 and 2 here at Phoenix, and then this back straightaway to where every single driver, it seemed, crashed the last time we were here in Season 6.
Yeah, that warranted a Hack News article, and it was definitely one of the more memorable ones of the season. Happened on lap 1 off of turn 2. There was some contact between, I believe it was Ethan Fonseca and AJ Green, and that set off a huge crash that collected about 20 or so cars, which honestly wasn't a kind of crash I've seen here at Phoenix Raceway, but with the backstretch and the pit road wall being right there, kind of funnels the racetrack down, and there was about a full 40-car field on that day, so many cars got involved. So many cars after that were damaged heavily and slow on the racetrack. It really opened itself up to green flag runs and a lot of lap traffic on that day. I don't think we'll see much of the same here this race, but it's certainly one for memories, especially that Hack News article.
Well, hopefully we don't get another big crash like that as the pace car goes to the left. I saw on Twitter earlier today before the race, Kyle Benson, the admin for 4Wide Racing social media, said, "Let's do it again," with a clip attached of that wreck on our broadcast. I really hope that doesn't happen again, and we've had some clean racing over the last several weeks. We'll get ready for the restart here on lap number 5 of 200. Moreno on the outside of the front row with Lawson Peel back on the inside, basically the same row as how we started on lap 1. Moreno gets the jump, has his teammate Porter behind him to the green flag.
And that was a great execution by those two to work together on the restart, because Jaden Porter's going to end up nosing in front of Lawson Field going into turn 1, and he's going to have the outside on him here through the corner to try and pinch him off, and that's in. That's a 28, moving up to P2 early.
Great move by Jaden Porter, who jumps into this race 38th on 38 points back, 5th on standings, or 4th rather, right in front of Brandon Banks. Porter has done well the 4Wide Racing playoffs, but certainly we've seen moments to where Porter has fallen out of reach, specifically Pocono, to where he got into an accident pretty early on in the race and basically had to play catch-up. It was really tough for him to even get his foot back in the door. Statement known early, gets by Lawson Peel and makes it a BBR 1-2 here early on lap number 6. Brandon Hawken, ever since he started 12, he has been carving his way through the field, even though it's been on short notice. First 6 laps, he's moved up to 5th.
We expect this guy to be competitive every single racetrack, and it shouldn't be a surprise that he's already found himself up into the top 5, and we fully expect him to contend for this race win well before the night's over.
We'll look on board with the 98 Toyota Supra as he pans on forward to Craig Lautenslager, who has moved up to 4th place in that Progress Rail Ford Mustang. Everybody basically single file as we wrap out of turn 4 for lap number 7, and Hawken, like we mentioned, 5 wins on the season. He's tied with Lawson Peel right now for most wins out of any driver in Season 6. Hawken, in 4Wide history, is the driver that has the most wins out of any rookie in a campaign. I believe we have connection issues for your race leader. Ethan Fonseca Moreno has dropped out of the session, and Jaden Porter in turn takes over the lead. What happened to the 21?
Wow, if that ends up being permanent, Kenneth, that is his championship over.
He is not reappearing. Oftentimes on iRacing, when drivers have connectivity issues, we see them blink in and out, and for moments they disappear. They reappear quickly. Moreno has not come back, and so this will be a huge dagger, Francisco, to Moreno's chances at a championship, and it could just remain with 2, Benson and Peel, to fight for the title next week at Homestead, Miami. Oh my.
Unreal. Wow. No words.
That is dramatic. We'll see if Moreno can be able to recoup, but as he sits out of this race disconnected, he has fallen 2 laps down and will continue to go laps down until he reappears on the racing surface. Something out of Moreno's control has almost about taken him out of the championship. We'll see if we can fully confirm what's happened to Moreno and give you the details as to how the 21 basically lagged out of the session, but as the sun sets, Porter in the race lead, but not by much. 2/10 separate the 28 car and the 12 of Lawson Peel, the ride out of turn 2 from the look of Porter.
And this gives Jaden an opportunity. I mean, his teammate was doing everything he could in that time he was in here, and Jaden, after that good restart, was able to get up to P2, and now it's handing him the lead. So now that Porter essentially is leading this race, now all he can try and do is just win this race to see if it can salvage his season. And look at that yellow car making its way up to P3. That's Brandon Hawken, who's showing some tremendous speed early on.
You know, Francisco, all season long you mentioned the Jaws. Whenever he pulls up, I think Brandon Hawken might just be the replacement here at Phoenix. He swerves to the inside of Craig Lautenslager, makes the run out of 4. Clear, entering the dog leg, back to turn 1. We know Brandon Hawken is a great qualifier and a great racer. Obviously, he's led so many laps throughout his tenure in this series, albeit very short. He's really never finished a race outside of the top 10. He has been so consistent and oh so fast every single race. There he is, getting by the 13. He's moved up through the field calmly and quickly. 13 laps in, already on the podium as he tries to catch up next to Lawson Field in the 12. Our next big battle follows inside the top 10. Seems some drivers go side by side here and there. Kevin D'Elia, number 53, goes door to door. I believe that's with Curtis Kelly. That is Adam Alashire actually right on the inside, but this is the trio of Skybox Racing Toyota Supras. We've seen a really successful campaign, Francisco, a debut one, in fact, for the Skybox team that Kevin D'Elia has been basically at the head of. Adam Alashire and rookie Ryan Pandicio to the playoffs, and then made the addition of Brandon Hawken, which was certainly a great decision. But overall, Skybox Racing, other than Hawken running 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Awfully consistent, and they were a part of the playoffs at one point. So they're trying to see if they can put together a solid closing to this season to really start the season 7 with some hot momentum and really try to go for that team championship and hopefully one of their drivers to get up in there.
Alashire was one of those drivers to make the playoffs after winning at the Daytona International Speedway. We had certain questions as to whether he was going to lock up the wild card spot based on everything that went down throughout the season, but the 91 luckily was able to make the playoffs, but suffered a really horrifying accident last week at KBueno Raceway where he went straight into the pit road barrels at the exit of turn 3, basically ended his race, and therefore has fallen 97 points out of the points leader. He is third to last in the standings as we go into tonight's event from Phoenix. They're ahead of Trevor Haley and AJ Green, the other playoff drivers, along with Ryan Pandicio, who currently runs in 16th. And how about AJ Green falling all the way to dead last after the little spin around on lap number 2? He's back in action, top 15 run.
Here we go, going through turn 3. Let's take a lap with AJ Green as we're getting ready to complete this current one. And here at the new start finish line in the middle of the first little straightaway, you can really cut this dog leg, but it's sometimes better not to. He goes right to the very bottom, gets up to the wall. He's going to take the bottom lane here really flat. You have to really woe the car down, but you see Trevor Haley, by running higher, he's going to get a bigger run off the corner. That's pretty significant, and the car is always going to slide off of turn 2. You pick your braking point right about there at the second cone, and AJ Green's going to slide up and run that second lane. No traction compound here at Phoenix, so can't really use that. But you see this time he cuts down to the dog leg at a very different, unique racetrack, and so many different lines to choose from. As there's contact between Eric Schaefer and Kyle Benson.
Kyle Benson in turns 1 and 2. Benson, though, not going to give up this fight quite yet. Sends the nose on the inside of turns 3 and 4. Schaefer goes way up the banking, and to the inside goes Benson. Switch around, the bump and run by the Cheez-It car.
I don't know if he actually made any contact. It looked like there was a little bit of pressure there just from getting really close. You see the 38 was right there. Yeah, it doesn't really get into the back of him to send him up the racetrack. You see the 38 was able to stay down there. I think it was just more so just a little bit of pressure applied to the 3, and it caused him to miss his braking point.
Schaefer in turn falls back to 9th and gets flanked by his DBR teammates Daniel Michel and Jesse Breeze, who slid on by to make it 7th and 8th for those two Chevrolet Camaros. So really fun to watch the battle between those two. But you were watching that onboard lap with AJ Green, Francisco, and one thing that stands out to me about running here at Phoenix is turns 1 and 2, what used to be turns 3 and 4, but still has the same configuration mostly, other than just the repave that they gave this track in 2017 and when iRacing has updated it in the following years after. What is difficult about running turns 1 and 2 specifically here? Because when you were looking at that onboard, AJ Green took so long to finally apply the throttle to exit the corner. What's the biggest difficulty as a driver about running this really long sweeping turns 1 and 2 section?
it's very flat, so when you do put enough throttle in, at some point those rear tires start to spin and the car starts to slide out from under you. That's why if you're able to run a little bit higher, you can arc the corner better, be more gentle with the throttle, and still get better traction out of it. So it just comes down to how you're able to run it, how you can use the wall proximity to get the car to turn. You don't really see it as much with the Xfinity cars, but with the next gens, especially back in the Gen 6 days, you can really use that wall to turn the car. As the yellow flag waves here on lap 23, Brandon Hawkins was just catching up to the 12th car. You see an incident there towards the back of the field. Bezuzzi just went by, and it's Eric Schaefer spinning and taking it back to the garage.
Remember that pass that Kyle Benson made on the 3 car several laps ago, what turned into a Schaefer crash. We'll take a look at exactly how this all went down from a look at our replay, but at the moment we can't get a good shot on it as we speak. The 3 car was going into the corner. Didn't seem like a problem. This is right behind Jesse Prees and the 25 of Daniel Micho, and it appears he just disconnects Francisco. It seems like he disappears, and then when he rejoins is when we saw him go sideways. So not entirely sure how the 3 car got into this accident, but it's a pretty decent enough damage to send him down pit road almost instantaneously. Didn't even bother putting that car back around to pit road. He just took it straight to the toe, and there he is on pit road.
Very crucially, the 21's back on the racetrack.
He is. He rejoined, and he is 2 laps down. There he is in his Ream Chevrolet Camaro, so it appears his race is not entirely done yet. He is going to stay out in effort of trying to get his lap back. Meanwhile, everybody in the front of the pack and even in the back on pit road for the most part, Lawson Peel and Craig Lounslugger, Jaden Porter, all of these drivers making their effort down pit lane. 25 laps in, Francisco, is this the marker when a caution comes out to pit?
Not sure how many tire sets they have. That would be a good guide, but look at Hawkins maybe getting P2, and indeed he does. Just barely gets out in front of Lawson Peel to move up a position relative to himself. So he'll move up to second of those drivers who pitted here. As there you see Michel, the only driver to stay out. That's the 21 there. That's looking to see if he can work his way back on the lead lap. That's step 1, is getting back on the lead lap. The fortunate part for him, at least at this stage in the race, is he's the only car that's lapped, that's still running on the racetrack. The 3 car obviously took the tow, so he's not going to be able to return to the racetrack for a while, handing the 21 the lucky dog if he's able to get another quick caution. So he's hoping for a rash of yellows or something to go his way to be able to get back on the lead lap quickly and then start to make up actual positions.
Moreno needs, of course, those yellows. He's going to get the wave around from the iRacing official pace car, but it will, I don't believe, get him to one lap down. Eric Schaefer has been declared out of this race. He is the first DNF as he has taken it behind the wall and into the garage. A really tough ending for Schaefer's penultimate race here from Phoenix Raceway in Season 6. He came into tonight 77 points out of your standings leader, Lawson Peel, but most importantly, Francisco was in a pretty close sandwich between Ryan Pandicio, 7 points ahead of him, and then you add in another 8 points, and you're looking at AJ Green, who sat behind Eric Schaefer going into tonight. So it's going to hurt drastically for Schaefer, who just looking to end this season on the best note possible. Tonight will be a somber one. Here's Brandon Banks, second trip onto pit road. I don't know what happened here.
Not sure if this is a strategy call or if he didn't get his completed service when we last came into the pit lane. It's not unnormal for that to happen. It does happen from time to time, but we're just not sure exactly what the situation is here for the 54. No, the jack is going up, so possibly didn't get the tires he was hoping for on the last when he came down with the lead lap car. So now he is going to bring it into the pit lane and get those tires that he was hoping for. So there you see the front of the field. That's Daniel Michel and Jaden Porter on your front row. Again, Daniel Michel stayed out, so he's on the same tires as he started the race on. Everybody else has pitted for 4 fresh tires. The 21 is 2 laps down, but he's the only car in this race that's currently lapped and running on the racetrack. So if any cautions come out, that is the free pass for him, and he's going to be hoping for a couple of those to get himself back on the lead lap. I think the best part for him and his race, he's got 173 laps to go in this race.
A lot of time to play with. Good news for Moreno. California and the Bluegrass State represented on rule number 1 for the restart. Michel has not pitted today. Everyone else did on the recent yellow. Michel was going to have to survive on his lonesome. The old set of Goodyear Eagles he's got on his Chevrolet Camaro. Run out of 4, green flag back in the air with the Porter employing the defense, sweeping down to the dog leg to prevent any run from both Hawken and Peel entering turns 1 and 2. Porter swoops around on the outside for the lead.
That'll give him the position to get out in front. They're 3 wide for second for a moment as Carr slams the wall. It's Forrester. This 5 goes around. That's Craig Rowe. And the 6 of Newbrough goes around. The caution flag will wave.
Saw the 99 tap the wall, but then Craig Rowe go for a hard hit. The 6 car joins him. And you saw Craig Parks in the 17. A bunch of other drivers slowing down, including Cody Kinsey, who stopped basically in the middle of the mess. This was directly out of 1 and 2. This is sort of what we expected to see Francisco on lap 1. This is on cold tires. Rowe just overcorrects and is
and it looks like while checking up, that's where the 2 of Cody Kinsey gets into the back of Michael Newbrough, sends him around. Fortunately for Newbrough, no major contact, as here we are on board with Craig Rowe. Once again, we're on cold tires here. You're going through a very slick 1 and 2. It's going to break loose right there. The front tires catch as he tries to correct it, and the back end slams the wall on him, and he comes around, brings the front end around, and he stops in the middle of the racetrack. Again, fortunately for him, nobody really hits him, so that's repairable damage for him. Same for Newbrough, just a little bit of rear end damage from the contact from Cody Kinsey as he was slowing down for this wreck, and that's good news for the 21, Kenneth. That's another lap he's able to get back. He's now 1 lap down in this race.
That's true. The look on board from Newbrough as he gets slightly tapped on the rear end of the race car. Newbrough, the driver out of Elyria, Ohio. Beautiful black and neon green colors that he's been sporting for the last several weeks. Not that much damage to warrant him out of this race, but certainly some flat-spotted tires that Newbrough did not want to have given to him. We're under yellow once again here at lap number 30. Everyone in that scurry to get around Daniel Michel, who's fallen back to 4th. So quick work by your leaders, and it almost looked like, Francisco, that Brandon Hawken was about to eat all these drivers alive. He was pinning it to the inside, almost looked like he was attempting a 3-wide move underneath Daniel Michel, while Peel was already on the outside of the 25 car, instead backed out, and as a result of the yellow, Hawken slowed up, and he's down to 5th. And look who's up to 3rd. Kyle Benson in the 38, who led a bunch of laps in this race. Francisco led a ton on the way until he ended up in that crash midway through.
Well, he just snuck his way up into 3rd at the moment, and he's right behind the main championship leader. So this is a huge position on the racetrack to be in right now. If he's able to get in front of the 12, that will close that gap down just a little bit more. So he's hoping that he can get around that 12 and then have some sort of a gap, whether it's cars passing Peel further on back or him getting past the 28, which is going to be hard to do. Again, these are some of the more competitive cars in the entire field for the entire seasons, and it's not exactly easy to make that happen. You just kind of have to do your part and then hope everything else plays out. But all Benson can do is hope.
Benson, a really successful playoff run that has turned up to this point. Winner at Daytona earlier in the playoffs, and has not finished a race in the playoffs outside of the top 10 ever since we started it back at Chicagoland. His worst finish was that debut playoff race at Chicagoland where he finished in 7th, and he's finished no worse than that. And the same can go for Lawson Peel, who only has 1 worst finish of 10th in the playoffs, an average finish of 3rd at Phoenix over his 3 career starts here. That includes a win, and they will for sure have a lot of fireworks between each other when we get this restart here on lap number 33. Sun begins to set here in Avondale, Arizona. Quick look at the weather on the bottom right of your screen. Track temp sits at 84 degrees. We could expect it to decrease as the night progresses. Winds are rather calm. We've seen some strong winds as of late, but only 5 to 6 miles an hour to the southeast directions near the hills and the cacti here in Avondale. So Porter and Peel, the 2 Ps, leading us to the green flag restart on lap 33. This is part of the reconfiguration of Phoenix. The entry to pit road is still at the exit of what used to be turn 4. Now is the exit of turn 2. You make the long pacing wait until the Geico restart zone and that green flag at the LED cactus. Porter set to go first into the restart zone. He does. Lap 33 underway from Phoenix.
And the outside is stacking up. Look at that.
Daniel Michel on the old tire sets everybody ablaze behind him, and they're all looking to get by. We are almost 4 wide.
Contact
for position. D'Elia and Lautenschlager hitting each other as they enter turn 1.
That was argy-bargy there between these guys As you see, Michel still on the old tires, which it won't equal out. That's a big difference on tires for it to really get to that point. As there you see now up front for the 3rd position, that's Brandon Hawken looking to the inside. Kyle Benson did move up to 2nd, so he got that done. Now he's a huge Brandon Hawken fan for him to move up to P3.
Benson had the benefit of getting the inside lane in row 2 behind the race leader. He could get to the launch quicker than the season. He is now striking against the Cheez-It car, backs out as they exit turn 2. Brandon Hawken will withhold his pressure for now, but your top 4 only spread by about a 10th or 2. Hawken with a great run out of turns 3 and 4. Gonna look this time, potentially in 1 and 2. Everyone mostly single file heading back to the first corner. Hawken, though, is sending it up, and look at Benson way up the racetrack, looking to get all the grip possible on the straightest exit out of the corner. The onboard look from the Pennsylvania native.
That's really what it's all about, is to hold off that 12 car. Make sure he can't get to your inside for 3 and 4. It's tough to make the pass on the bottom, but you're certainly not going to give him the outside doing that.
Well, Benson attacks on Porter, but so far this 28 car has been holding serve at the front. No signs of weakening to the pressure behind him. Porter knows how to run up front with a lot of stakes on the line. We know what he did in his championship pursuit last season. And he needs a race like this, Francisco, if he even wants to have somewhat of a shot at Homestead. We're not looking at a pass for the standings lead for Porter, but if he can lead the most laps, be up front, have a clean race car, and get the W, it could spark some new life into the Kentucky natives' bid at a 2nd straight title.
He's going to need some help, though, Kenneth. I mean, he could win these next 2 races, but if those 2 behind him still are able to finish well within the top 10, it's not going to end up mattering in the end, because they're putting up enough points that it'll kind of offset the advantage that drivers like Peel and Benson have. So they're comfortable as long as they're able to really put some decent enough finishes. It doesn't have to be great. As long as it's decent enough, that should negate anything against Porter. So Porter, the best thing he could do is go out there and win 2 races, but he's going to need some kind of help in the form of some bad luck in the way of the 38 and the 12 to really and truly get back into it. As there you see the 98 did get past Lawson Peel. Lawson Peel kind of broke a little bit early going into turn 1, conceded the place to the 98. As you see a battle behind Lawson Peel, that's with Craig Lautenslager and Jesse Prees. They're actually just Jesse Prees and Craig Lautenslager. Prees on the outside trying to get a top 5 position, so early on a good run for that 0.
Back in 10th, the RaceEPI.com number 00 Chevrolet still on the outside of Lautenslager here, making up a couple positions since the drop of the green flag. Really good to see Prees running well against the fellow playoff driver, making it tough on Lautenslager to get through, pins him down in turns 3 and 4. So these guys will continue to push this battle back into turn 1. But you mentioned for Porter wanting to have some bad luck go down for both Peel and Benson, but he also needs some bad luck to go down for Brandon Hawken. Every time he wins a race, he is stealing valuable points from playoff competitors. That time, he almost pulled the trigger on an indoor pass to Kyle Benson. Lags back, but we know that if Porter wants any shot at winning a championship, he needs to win, and he needs Brandon Hawken not to be there.
I mean, yes, ideally for Porter that would be the case, but you just need a lot of pieces to make it work. It's very complex. Yeah, it's kind of like that situation in the NFL regular season when it's week 18 and you need like 3 teams to lose a game, and as long as you win yours, you should be in, but you're relying on so much more to happen that it's a long shot. Yes, it can happen, but it's an extreme long shot. You're talking about 38 points. You don't really have 40-car fields at this point in the season anymore, so if that gap is anywhere really 30 points or over, there is no mathematical shot for Homestead. So like I said, it's going to come down to really needing a lot of assistance in that form of bad luck against his competitors to really get himself back into it.
Sort of like the Miami Heat late in the regular season where they were trying to figure out their play-in spot or playoff spot. They needed a bunch of stuff to happen. Orlando and a bunch of other teams to lose their games. They needed to win. They needed to do a bunch of stuff. But Porter's still hanging on to a little bit of hope. And he told me earlier today before the race that he was jumping in basically with no practice, but it seemed like he had put in laps before we hopped into the race session, because Porter was the top 2 of practice standings with his teammate Ethan Fonseca Moreno, and even in a bit of qualifying, Porter was able to put in solid efforts and did have a top 10 start here at the drop of the green flag. So Porter does have a lot of pace to carry here at Phoenix, and so far displaying that. carrying on to a 4/10 of a second lead over Kyle Benson, who is playing the best defense he can against the two-time winner over the last 3 races, Brandon Hawken, in the 98.
And Kyle Benson playing some good defense to hold on to that P2, and he knows he kind of has to, because he's already ahead of Lawson Peel, and this is just a point gap that he's really looking at. That's what it's all about here. He knows that Hawken is of no threat in the standings, but knows that if he can keep Hawken behind him, that's a gap that he can really make up to Peel. And you see him doing exactly that. Look at the lines he's running to try and offset the 98's advantage, and trying to see if he can run in the same line and make sure that 98 can't get around him, or at least force him to the bottom. That certainly is going to be very helpful. And also, whilst all this is going on, Ethan Fonseca is getting past some lap cars who have fallen to a lap down or two in this race, so he is trying desperately to make sure that if a yellow comes out at any moment, he is the first car lap down to get back on the lead lap. He got past Craig Rowe and Cody Kinsey already, as you see 3 wide going into turn 1. That's very close between Alice Shire, AJ Green, and Kevin D'Elia.
These guys are in a fun bout that continues out of turn 2, and they really haven't made any lick of contact. 3 Toyotas going at it. Back to 3 and 4. Green is going to win this fight, and great recovery by the 48 of Green. Dropped all the way back to dead last with the spin on lap 2. Here he is with a chance of breaking back into the top 5. D'Elia wanted the crossover to happen out of 4, could not convert. His teammate Alashire on the inside, and they all got by Craig Lounslauger in the 13, who was plummeted in this run, dropping all the way back to 9th. We were looking at Kyle Benson's defense against Brandon Hawken that remains stable here, crossing the line for lap number 48. He goes into this race cognizant of those 2 drivers behind him, Hawken and Peel, with how fast they are in this 4-wide racing series. He told me earlier today, very big to be honest, on how he felt about tonight's race. He said, quote, points racing all night long. I'm confident with what I've gotten. He also told me the chip has been eluding me for years. I feel like I can finally get it done. Francisco, this has been one of the best seasons we have seen out of Kyle Benson, and only certain people know the amount of heartbreak that this driver has faced throughout his long career in this series. A former Championship 5 appearance to where he crashed midway through the race and could not have a chance at a title. This time in 2024, the best shot he has, 9 points away from Peel heading into tonight.
He's had a shot in just about every single season, Kenneth, and it's just been unfortunate set of circumstances in the final race, or the second to last race, that have really eluded him from being able to get to the top step. We saw him try that alternative strategy just last season at Homestead Miami Speedway, trying 2 tires and a 2-lap dash there at the end, as the caution flag is going to come out here on lap 50, quarter-way distance. Here you see a car around there. It is the 53 of Kevin D'Elia. We saw him racing tightly with some of his teammates there. That's going to, and Eric, 150 to go.
Perhaps a product of the racing that we saw a little earlier. Perhaps. We'll take a look at the replay and see how the 53 got into peril. It was with the 48 of AJ Green. This enters 3 and 4. Door contact as they enter the corner. D'Elia slides high. Francisco, there's the contact as they were almost 4 wide in a staggered motion. Pretty harmless spin by D'Elia. We'll take a look on board with the driver of the 53 who was attacking on AJ Green. That was the position up for grabs in P6. So they bang doors once, they'll touch again, entering 3 and 4. Right about here as D'Elia slides up the racetrack. And then right behind him was where Green attempts the crossover, slides up with the right front just not gripping as well as the 48 would hope it did, and sends D'Elia for the spin. So nothing crazy for the 53, but that does take drivers down pit road, including your race leader. Jaden Porter is going to be the only driver in the top 5 to come in. Kyle Benson gets handed the race lead. A gutsy call, 52 laps in from Jaden Porter. We know that on our first caution at about lap 25, Porter did make the stop with basically everyone else. It was a full-on consensus call, but I'm not sure whether this one will be profitable on the other end. 52 laps in, the defending champion Jaden Porter makes the gamble. He enters pit road. The good news, though, is that his teammate Ethan Fonseca Moreno will be back on the lead lap. Spent a lot of work getting himself from 2 laps down and getting to 1 lap down, and obviously the only driver in the lucky dog spot at the time. So as of the wave of this yellow flag, Ethan Fonseca Moreno is going to slide onto the lead lap position and will actually gain a couple spots. Colin Forrester in 24th, right behind him, and then 25th going to Craig Rowe, who has fallen a lap down after the sustained hit to the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. There's a look at the pretty beat up number 5 Mountain Dew Ford Mustang. Craig was one of the newer drivers in this series, sort of like Brandon Hawken, to which he started the season late and has proven himself as a talented racer. Good friend of the Indiana rookie driver of Trevor Haley. Both of them have been sporting the same paint schemes, sometimes week in and week out with the icy colors. Craig Rowe with another beautiful car tonight, but unfortunately not a lot of great situations for him here at Phoenix as he ends up with the damage and falls back to 25th. He could fall 2 laps down as long as he stays on pit road as the entire field swarms by. So in turn, Kyle Benson will grab the race lead under the lights here at Phoenix Raceway. This will be his first laps led of the evening. So this is going to be a big deal for Benson, who will look to grab some laps led points, to where Lawson Peel really hasn't been able to do that all too often tonight. The threat still looms with Brandon Hawken on the horizon. Benson was doing a wonderful job at keeping the Canadian at bay, but we'll see if that ends up changing as we move forward. Hawken, of course, the winner in 2 of the last 3 races, a 5-time winner in his season 6, and that is the most by any rookie in any 4-wide racing season ever, if you exclude season 1, to where technically everyone was a rookie. But when you look at rookie drivers after the fact, seasons 2 on forward, this is the most we've seen a driver be dominant in their rookie year. The next closest is 4 wins from Colin Forrester, who shocked the entire 4-wide world when he won those 4 races back in season 3, including 3 in a row to kick off the season. Restart set up for lap 55 from Phoenix. Your top 3 is as follows. Kyle Benson outside row 1 with Hawken on the bottom. Jesse Prees, a race high 3rd for him, continues his move up through the field, followed by his teammate Lawson Peel in 4th. And then there's Adam Alashire moving up to 5th as a result of the incident with AJ Green and Kevin DeLeo. Run out of 4, back to the green flag. Kyle Benson takes him back to turn 1. Solid start by the 38, inside dive by Brandon Hawken. He wants to settle this thing here, and now cannot keep the nose underneath the 38 at the exit of turn 2. Peel clears his teammate Prees for 3rd place, make it almost 3 wide as Alashire thread the needle going down low.
And Benson knows that this is the move he has to make to protect the race lead, get those bonus points while he's out in front, but most importantly, not let that 98 drive off into the distance. We've seen the 98 when he gets into the clean air, when he gets to the top spot, it's very hard to get around him later in the race, and the 98 gets to the inside, and it's very hard to keep the car pinned down there. You see just the loss of momentum there. Benson doing an excellent job at being able to hold him off. They'll give him that bottom as long as he can get that run off the corner. It should keep him in the top position, but for only how long before the 98 decides it is time to get a move on.
Taking in those sounds from the in-car cameras on Benson's number 38, and in turns 1 and 2, Francisco, he is shifting down to 3rd gear. It's certainly a possibility with these fixed setups here at Phoenix Raceway. You can use 3rd gear as a ways of spinning out the rear tires, but also to just getting the better acceleration off the corner. What is the idea behind shifting here at Phoenix, and how does it help you as a driver get through a long run?
Can't say I've tried it, so I can't really comment on how that would work, but the only thing I can think of is that it probably gives you just a little bit of better drive off in a certain situation. Not sure exactly if it's going to help your tires, but at the track position and you get that acceleration, it certainly could help you in a battle to stay in front of somebody. As here's Jaden Porter in the middle of traffic trying to get around with those fresh tires, threading the needle there with AJ Green. This is now to move up into the 9th position ahead of the 48 car, and he's able to get up in there, and he's now actually up to 8th. So pretty good moves being made by him, but how much is he going to lose in his tire wear in getting these moves done? Doesn't look like much, but if he's able to keep this up, he'll eventually get up there and battle the likes of your current race leaders to get back into the top position. Even though he's offset on strategy now, the best thing he could hope for is a lengthy green flag run. That way when he gets up there, he can put a bit of a gap and not have to worry about a lot of pressure from those behind him. He can kind of moderate his pace, go a little bit longer if the run is long enough to eventually get to green flag pit stop, so he's hoping for a long enough run.
This is where, in the run, Porter makes his money, getting building up the gap as much as possible. But the gamble was he used that extra set a little earlier on than everyone else. He was the only driver on the lead lap, Francisco, basically to come down pit road. It was really a gutsy call. Nobody else decided to go with him, but sort of the downfall of being the race leader entering a caution flag pit stop period. You can make that decision first. You'll have nobody else to reference off of. So if everyone else comes down here or doesn't after you, it really just comes down to, am I in a good situation or not in the aftermath? And here's Porter making the move to the outside. He's led 41 laps today here at Phoenix. Gets to the top side of Brandon Hawkins. Should be an easy pass entering the dog leg. Next candidate in line, Kyle Benson. Quick work of the 38. Porter back to the top spot.
And the tire advantage is what's going to give him that pass on Benson. I think Benson knew it in a way because he didn't fight it as hard as he would if that was Hawkin making the move. Just trying to keep the track position on those guys while he's on the same strategy as them. So should expect the 28 to pull a little bit of a gap. I'd expect him, now that he's in the lead, to try and pull the reins back a little bit and save a little bit of tires. He knows he has the advantage, and he can just save and drive away at a controlled pace. Doesn't need to go flat out anymore because he knows he inherently will pull away.
There's Brandon Hawkin again attempting the indoor pass on Kyle Benson to no avail. We've seen many of those attempts happen, specifically in 1 and 2, where Benson and Hawkin are running really high lines entering the corner and just mark it down to that yellow line at the bottom end of the racetrack. Hawkin remains adamant in his charge for second place, while Pila sort of hung back and let the two drivers in front tell him the story so he can adapt to the run as it moves forward. And we should expect these guys to enter pit road later on in the run. Probably not now, since it doesn't really warrant getting fresh tires, but at some point you are going to have to think about it for these guys, and if, of course, we stay under green flag circumstances. Fight for 8th on the boards. AJ Green getting in front of Tyler Murray, and Trevor Haley want to run through the field for the 36 car. He's up to 9th.
A top 10 run going here for Tyler Murray, hoping to see if he's not the last one in the standings by the time the playoffs are all over next week. And right now, a top 10 position should help his case. And as we consider the cycle, just to get an eye for where everybody is on strategy, Kenneth, most of the field came down pit road about 40 laps ago. They had about 2 or 3 yellows in that time, so they can probably go another 20 or so laps on their fuel before they'll have to come down pit road. And Porter can probably do about another, honestly, perhaps another 40, 45 laps.
Here is the developing comeback story for Ethan Fonseca Moreno. On the recent caution, got his lead lap candidacy back. He has weaved his way through traffic a bit. Look on board from him in 19th place. Again, if you were missing the early part of the race tonight from Phoenix, Moreno had some connectivity issues while running in the race lead. Was out of the session for several laps, fell 2 laps down, then happened to rejoin at a pretty good time. Got his lap back through a caution, then got his lead lap candidacy back from another yellow, so he's gotten pretty lucky to get the lead lap situation quickly. And works on Tony Kimmett from 18th place. He's been sort of methodically, mentally getting this pass done in his head. He's looking to fully execute as Daniel Moore attempts to make the move right behind him. So keep an eye on the 21 Moreno, Francisco, who has had the most emotional season that I've seen out of any rookie driver in recent memory, as Benson and Hawkin once again do battle for second, with Benson winning the fight. Moreno has been up and then down. I've really never seen a bipolar swing week after week as what we've seen with Moreno this season, whether it be heartbreak from races he thought he could win or wins that he's been able to get. It's a story worth following. A pretty sizable accident. Daniel Micho involved in this one, Christopher Bishop and others stacked in. This is turn 4.
A nice little incident here on lap 69 of this race, and significant damage there to Daniel Michel on the back end. Wondering just exactly how this happened. You see we're getting through turns 3 and 4 now, and Michel's not around, so I wonder if this is a lap early from where the incident actually occurred. And you can see this is all in front of the 21, but well in front. So there's Jesse Prees, Adam Alishai, Craig Lautenslager. There's the 25 of Michel working his way off turn 2. He's with Christopher Bishop going down the back straightaway. Looks like he tries to make the move to the inside, and real sure where the incident is.
We got a better look at it. We could not get the accurate look at it. But this
right there.
is really the angle here. That was several laps ago. So it all starts with this quartet. Murray leading Haley, Curtis Kelly, and Daniel Micho, and it starts up front.
Oh, Kelly.
One car, the New Brunswick Canadian driver gets into a half spin, and it stacks up everyone behind. Gets Michel most notably involved with Penicio.
He got loose on the brakes. That's either a lot of rear brake bias and at the same time putting in a lot of brakes, or just general looseness, because he spun out basically just as he applied the brakes, still on the straightaway. And we have some pit stops.
Look on board with Daniel Michel right in front of Pandicio, right behind Curtis Kelly. Two of the Skybox Toyota Supras involved, and look at a sizable hit after the fact. The 53 of D'Elia, who spun by his lonesome after getting turned by AJ Green earlier with heavy damage. Christopher Bishop also getting a pretty big piece in all of this. You're right, Francisco, pit stops are underway. And the run out of pit road won by Lawson Peel. Brandon Hawken is going to stay out this time by.
And Kyle Benson lost a couple of positions in the pit lane. He's still in the pit lane by the look of it, so a potential penalty for the 38.
Had a 29.5-second pit stop. A pretty abysmal one for Benson, who, remember, last week at Pocono, had that one entry to pit road that we thought could have ruined his race, where he slid into his stall, was in a really awkward spot, and had to back up several times before ultimately getting his service done. And so this is right in front of Lawson Peel, entering pit road. No harm, no foul as it stands. Everyone's going pit road speed limit. No danger of speeding on pit road. And I don't even think 29.5 seconds, Francisco, is a pit road speeding penalty. So
Just
here's the entry to the box. Pretty standard.
So it was clean. Let's see, the right sides go up immediately. So it's still in the air. I think it just dropped there. And the left sides go up now. Jack's drop, and he's still in the box. And he didn't really make any contact with anybody at any point, Kenneth, so very odd to me why he stayed in the box, if that was a choice of his or not, or whether something happened, because there was no reason, at least from what we could tell, that would warrant him staying in the box. Doesn't have any damage on the race car to have to repair, so very puzzling.
And when you look at it here, it doesn't seem like, well, maybe they're going way over pit road speed limit. That's the live look, but I guess at the moment it didn't seem like he was going all that fast. But then Benson is coming in a second time. He's dropped to 19th, a top off on fuel, and he's out of there.
So I did get confirmation that he did speed on pit road on the entry, on the straightaway section, from the man himself. So unfortunately for Kyle Benson, a mistake here will drop him to the back of the field, back of the lead lap of the field. So not ideal, but at least he was able to top off. And now the field is in the hands of Jaden Porter and Brandon Hawken, who will lead us to the green flag. Brandon Hawken has not pitted in close to 50 laps in this race because he did not pit on the last two cautions. So he's probably going to hope for a quickie yellow here soon enough to get onto the pit lane. If not, a green flag pit stop is imminent. At least Jaden Porter has been on pit road about 20 laps ago. The green flag is out. So we should see the likes of Lawson Peel get up there and possibly take over the lead of this race. Oh, contact!
Up the track is Jesse Prees along with Hawken.
Alishkire
trying to find his place. And now a spinning
no,
car. Craig
Lautenschlager
Lautenschlager in the 13. Caution is out again.
And that's the caution Kyle Benson was hoping for, to see if he can try and do something now. And that's certainly the caution that would help Jaden Porter. He's going to lose that track position, but at least he won't get eaten up. And same deal for Brandon Hawken. He definitely wants that yellow. He lost a couple positions, almost had some contact there. You see near miss there between the 91 and the 0, and that forces the 98 to get ran up the racetrack, loses a couple of spots there. And Lautenschlager, 2 tires below the yellow line. That's not going to really work out. A difference in banking sends the car around, especially on cold tires. Right on board with the 13 as it happens, and listen.
Car's loose before he gets to the transition on the apron, and this is really scary here, Francisco.
Wow.
Several feet away, maybe inches from those pit road barrels.
that is not fun, especially because they don't absorb the hit like they do in real life. They very much like a wall. So if you hit that, you might actually get stuck in there and you're forced to tow. So that's not fun for anybody to participate in. So fortunately for him, he misses it, and he's able to keep it going and continue on in this race with a sizable opportunity. Many cars actually found their way into the pit lane here, including Kyle Benson. There's Daniel Michel. So a split strategy here, but considering most of the field was in the pit lane, the previous caution, Kenneth, I'm not sure how much of a difference that'll make, at least not right now anyways. But it is going to be interesting because it puts the 21 up to P8, so he is continuing to move his way up and now has a better view of his rival in Lawson Peel, and he's hoping for Jaden to do his best job if he can of holding them off until he's able to get there, but you're asking a lot out of 20 lap old tires compared to the rest of the field.
You are, and this is the real test for Porter, if he can play all of that defense, because we know Brandon Hawken was almost defeated instantaneously from that call to stay out. Everyone swooped on by in 1 and 2, but it's really how Porter can keep the momentum up, and also how long he can just stave off everyone else. A lot of times the leader can just get the early jump and make sure they can get around everyone else. But so far, Jaden Porter, the man in command here from the virtual Phoenix Raceway. Our semi-final race of the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series continues after a short break.
But experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Phoenix Raceway, the semi-final race of the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series. Kenneth Bueno alongside Francisco Bacallao. The run to the restart here on lap 79 of 200. Jaden Porter on 27 lap old tires is looking to hold off every single other driver who has fresh rubber. Jesse Prees looking to the inside of Adam Alashire, and the look from Porter. He's got pressure. Here comes Peel, the run out of 4, and the look for the top spot.
Has the fresher tires, is able to cut the dog leg, and he's going to be the inside of the 28. Expect the lunge here out of the 12 to try and get that track position, and just the better grip is going to hand him the position to move your championship leader up to P1. He's going to slide in front of the 28, but he is now clear for the top spot, and with those better tires should start to pull away from the 28, who will be under fire here from these rest of the top 5. You see Alashire almost making contact with Trevor Haley and Jesse Prees. They're 3 wide. All of this while Ethan Fonseca and Jesse Prees is going to go spinning on the inside. No caution yet. We stay green.
And there he is, the car facing the inside wall. He is under the apron and hits the wall again as he gets his car readied. Poor Jesse Prees on this restart ends up spinning. The yellow does not fly. And we'll see if we can get a replay of that. But the look up front, Lawson peeled up by half a second. Alishire gets on by. Jaden Porter drops to fourth, and this is the best case scenario, Francisco, for Moreno. All of those cautions helping out in due time. The 21 back inside the top 5.
And Jaden Porter won't fight this one too much. He knows Ethan still has a realistic shot at the championship, especially after this comeback drive. Being at one point in this race 3 laps down after the disconnection issues, now finds himself up to P4. Is going to have to get past Trevor Haley and Adam Alishire before he can get a look at his rival. Again, at one point, started from the pole and was leading this race. Looked like he had some good enough pace, so we know the 21 is capable of winning here and putting up the fight to the 12. He's going to have to get up the rear view of Lawson Peel directly with no traffic in between before he can start thinking about any of that.
And Peel and Moreno both finished inside the top 3, second and third. Last time we were here in Phoenix back in Season 6, earlier on in the calendar year, to where TJ Burst was able to grab the victory single-handedly, but Peel and Moreno were not too far away. And with TJ Burst not in the image, neither is Brandon Hawkins, just based on the strategy. Opening the door for the 2 Titans to get back to work, but they have 2 cars in front and behind them in order to settle it between the 2 on track. Trevor Haley in his D-Walt number 4 Ford Mustang holding on to this spot nicely. Trevor Haley in his first ever season in this series, first ever playoff bid, has fallen back quite a bit from the point standings position he used to be, back 92 points away from Lawson Peel and right in front of Craig Launslager by 3. To catch up about, give or take 7 points to make up the spots lost from AJ Green and company. But a good fight potentially building up as 6th place is decided. Speaking of AJ Green, he gets to the inside of Jaden Porter, who continues this fall off on old tires.
And Brandon Hawkins, since the previous restart, hasn't fallen as much as he did the initial one where the split strategy started to occur. He's sitting there in 7th right now, catching up to Jaden Porter, but he's on the oldest tires on the racetrack. If this race goes green for really a short amount of time, we could expect the driver of the 98 to hit the pit lane soon enough. How long has he been out there on fuel, Kenneth?
61 laps.
Yeah, that's going to be near pit stop soon.
And it's going to be a really tough place to do it, because at Phoenix, you cannot come down pit road under green flag circumstances and expect to still be on the lead lap. You probably will be a lap down or more, just depending on how great or bad the pit stop ends up being for you. So we'll keep an eye on Brandon Hawkins to when he comes down pit road, but he has fallen outside of the top 5. Here he is running in 8th with a chance at losing that spot, plus 9th and 10th. That's up for grabs between playoff driver Brandon Banks and here's the Forder driver, Colin Forrester, in the 99.
We saw him have some trouble early on one of the restarts, lost a couple of positions, but he's trying to battle back into the top 10. And how about a move into the top 5 for Tyler Murray? What a drive he's been putting on here in the middle portion of this race.
He has been doing well. He got passed by Ethan Fonseca Moreno on the way off the restart, but a fantastic run tonight, especially where he started. Back in 21st place, he took the green flag tonight from Phoenix, and he has ran a lot of clean laps, been one of the best drivers out on track just based on racing attitude. And the 36 car, give him a lot of credit for all the work that he's been putting in tonight. Has been able to reap the benefits, but he's got a hard-charging AJ Green right behind him, as I think Moreno almost about sent the bumper to Trevor Haley in this fight for 3rd place. And here he goes to the inside.
Yeah, you see a gap forming up in front of the 4 all the way up to Adam Alishire. They were bunching up. Ethan Fonseca sees that gap and knows he's losing time to his championship rival, dives it up to the inside, and he's able to get past Trevor Haley ultimately. So let's see here, back to turn 3. See, he gets the run from the diamond effect, and as he tries to go into the corner, looks like Haley breaks that little bit earlier, and look how much he slides in hopes of not hitting him.
He got so close to getting into that Ford car. Obviously doesn't want to send him up the racetrack, but he does make this pass cleanly. So Moreno now up to 3rd place and keeping Lawson Peel honest. How about it? Adam Alishire moving up to a race high 2nd.
He's got a run here.
Phenomenal run out of turn 2. Will he deploy entering turns 3 and 4? Answer is going to be no. He holds back and hits the reset button for one more try at it as we approach halfway.
And normally Alishire is very quick on the short runs, but he's pretty fast here, even a couple laps after this restart, so he is forcing Lawson Peel to have to make some decisions here. You see lap traffic up ahead might play a factor here shortly enough, and Alishire with the corner turning down in the center of the corner, hoping to get a run here. Isn't going to get to the inside, loses a bit of ground actually, and there they go by the 5 of Craig Rowe, who gets out of the way, moves across the racetrack in front of the 21. The 21 is able to get by now, but Adam Alashire all over Lawson Peel, forcing him to have to race.
And that will help Moreno as much as Alashire
he's clutching.
pressures Lawson. It is going to help Moreno get in it. And Peel is clutching. Silence off the engine sounds from Peel. Take a listen into turns 3 and 4. Is it the same as 1 and 2? No.
No, not the same. So I wonder if that's a strategy to run the corner better.
See if we can get a better look here. Indoor look with Peel entering 1 and 2. We saw him clutching coast entering the corner.
No, not this time.
Doesn't this
Very
time.
curious.
So it was just that specific lap. You heard the silence.
Very interesting.
And there's Alashire pointing his nose to the inside again. Boy, the runs he's getting out of turns 1 and 2 are worthy of note, but yet still has not extinguished.
And the 21's there.
And like I said, it helps Moreno get back into this fight. Your top 3 all under a
To the
blanket
bottom.
by at least a 10. Alashire unleashes. Looks for the unloaded pass in turn 1.
Oh, and almost contact with Lawson Peel, forces Peel up the racetrack. Alashire trying to see if he can negate the run. The 12 gets off the corner with a diamond on his own right. They'll be side by side back to turn 3. He'll tuck in, and Ethan Fonseca has to sit back and watch. Alashire, in the midst of this championship battle, is not giving way.
Alashire is pushing the boulder up the mountain as much as possible, but it could just result in that ball just rolling all the way back. Moreno has a chance to dive underneath as this time Peel guards on the inside. Alashire goes up high. Peel swivels up the racetrack. Here comes Alashire with a run out of the corner. Moreno's going to hang tough with the 91, and the most amount of separation we've seen between Peel and Alashire happens entering the corner. And there goes Alashire again. Boy, he is diving it in.
He wants the lead. Now you can definitely tell he wants the lead.
Deep sea diving, Olympic style. A look on board with Alashire, swings up high in turns 1 and 2 again. Seems like the last several laps, Peel has remained loyal to running closer to that yellow line. It works out to his benefit this time, as they almost brushed the outside wall, and I believe we had battle for 5th underway while we were looking at this. Tyler Murray and AJ Green going side by side, and boy, Alashire is not giving this up yet. If you're Lawson Peel, what are you thinking in this situation?
Well, with the 21 there now, he knows he has to fight this even more because the 21 ran both of them down, but he's also hoping that Alashire can hold off Ethan at the same time because he has a direct buffer between himself and his championship rival, so he knows that he doesn't have to fight Alashire as much, but at the end of the day, he has to only because Ethan Fonseca is right there ready to pounce.
And this is good news for Moreno because not only is he on the lead lap, not only does he have striking distance towards your race leader Lawson Peel, but Kyle Benson is all the way back in 8th, continuing his recovery drive after the speeding penalty. There goes Moreno, unleashing the pass to the inside of Alashire. We've seen Hawken employ this move many times on Benson to no avail. Similar situation happens there with the 21.
And speaking of Brandon Hawken, he's already made his green flag pit stop, so he's currently the first car 1 lap down, has fresher tires than most of the field. There you see him there, just ahead of Jesse Freeze on the racetrack physically, which means he's not too far away from your race leaders in trying to see if he can get back on the lead lap. He's hoping that this cycles out entirely. Even if a yellow comes out, at least right now, he'll be the first car 1 lap down because Daniel Michaud is still well ahead of your race leader, so at least at the moment, no risk of getting lapped. There's Jaden Porter, who is still currently staying out on the racetrack, is approaching 50 laps on his fuel stint. Is probably going to be in the pit lane sometime in the next 15 or 20 laps if this stays green.
And you know what's been good news for Jaden Porter? He's employed a turnaround here in this run. He's got 48, now 49 laps down in his stint and his set of Goodyear Eagles, yet he is still gaining time on AJ Green, Tyler Murray, and Trevor Haley. Now, of course, given the fact that these drivers have been doing battle the last several laps, so it has helped Porter just creep up on pace. But even then, on long-term runs, you're watching Porter put in laps that are almost about a 10th or so faster than Green and some of the drivers ahead of him. So keep an eye on Porter, even on the old tires. As the fuel burns off of this 28 car, he's been able to gain a bit of speed.
I think we were 3 wide for the lead for a moment because I saw on the interval there, it was basically all zeros. As you see right now, Alashire has actually taken the top spot away.
He's got it halfway home. Lawson Peel still hanging tough in second, so this is going to make it a mano-a-mano match for second place. Going under is Peel, going up high is Moreno.
And Peel, if he's exiting underneath the 91, by the time they get to this part of the corner, it helps the 21. See the run Ethan is able to get. He's going to look to the inside. Again, the inside is not an easy pass, but Lawson Peel's actually going to give it to him.
Peel not going to fight this one, at least now. He wants to win the war later on tonight. Lap
good run there.
103, Moreno to second, Peel, the crossover, back to the inside, and they are letting Alashire run with this free. He's up ahead by at least half a second. Moreno is going to stay put on the outside of 1 and 2, clearing the 12.
Most of these cars, when they last came down on pit road, was around lap 75 or so, Kenneth. So if my math is correct, they're trying to complete this race on one more pit stop, as we see the fuel window to be close to about 70 laps or so. If this goes green, Jaden Porter cannot make it on one pit stop. He might have to try a Brandon Banks-esque strategy to make it happen, as there you see, indeed, we were 3 wide for a moment.
That was beautiful to watch in turns 1 and 2 between Alashire, Moreno, and Peel. And here's the running order as it stands. Alashire, the race leader. Moreno creeping up, though. Large send into 3 and 4. And Peel has sort of ducked out of this fight 4 now, like J. Cole did in the Big 3 rap battle. He is sort of fallen out at the moment. But Alashire could be under fire a bit from the 21. In the meanwhile, a bit of lap traffic to spice things up.
That was such a random reference, but I love it.
I don't know if you've been keeping tabs with the rap game over the last, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. But
I think you have filled me in on that recently.
There are probably a lot of viewers on the YouTube chat saying, what is he even talking about? What does he mean J. Cole was backing out of a rap battle? But if you want to look it up, a ton of beef between specifically Kendrick Lamar and everyone, but Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and Metro Boomin, J. Cole in that as well. Ton of lore that we can get into at another time. But look at this. 4-way fight for 2 different spots. Benson on the inside of Trevor Haley, while Jaden Porter attacks on the league owner.
Now this is some lore we love watching.
This is great. Jaden Porter on the inside, attacking on the Speedco Ford Mustang. AJ Green hangs in behind it. Look at this. Brandon Hawkin gaining time on Colin Forrester and Craig Lounslogger, threading the needle to the dog leg.
And again, the 91 or the 98 is actually a lap down right now, has fresher tires after a green flag pit stop, so he's able to put the car wherever he wants and gain some time. He loses it into traffic like this. It's not ideal, but still is able to put in some decent lap times. You see him braking to make sure he has the gap, gets the run he has to try and see if he can get past. Look at that thread right through the middle between Green and the 36 of Tyler Murray to get past both of them there. Off of turn 4 is there you see Craig Rowe darting to get out of the way of Kyle Benson. As there you see Benson actually makes contact with Trevor Haley as the 98 finds his way to the inside of that 4 car. Again, he's not too far off the race leaders as Benson has now moved his way up to 3rd. We have a car hitting the pit lane, and I believe that's Jaden Porter indeed. So Jaden Porter, after about 60 or so laps, finds his way into the pit lane, well short of being able to get to the end of the race. Everybody else, as far as the main leaders, are still trying to see if they can get to about lap 135, maybe lap 140, to really assure themselves of being able to get to the end on fuel. Brandon Hawkin, if this goes green, will also have to make a second green flag stop.
You're looking at about 20 or so laps until these drivers think about heading down pit road. That, of course, is if we stay green, so it should be around lap 130, 135, give or take, which Francisco is, I don't think, enough fuel to make it to the checkered. Not sure.
It depends, because we saw Brandon Hawkin go about 65 or so laps on his stint. Yes, there was some caution laps there, but you can certainly make it happen, as there's Hawkin right now getting past Lawson Peel, and if he catches up to your leaders, he will unlap himself. So if this gets to the point of green flag pit stops and it cycles out, Brandon Hawkin will have a huge lead, but extremely old tires, so the advantage will swing back in the way of your current race leaders, as there's Lounslogger now the inside of AJ Green for position out on the racetrack for 6th, that is, as that's Trevor Haley up there in the 5th spot. Lawson Peel losing time to your top 3 at the moment, actually being caught by Kyle Benson very slowly but surely. That could spice up another battle there, as those are the top 2 in the standings coming into this race.
Benson is behind by 9, so there's a big storyline between those two as we jump into Homestead, Miami next week. Wanted to touch on the great comeback for the 13 of Craig Lautenschlager, one of our recent yellows. He was spun around at the exit of turns 1 and 2, right alongside those yellow pit road barrels that kick off the pit road wall on the inside of the racetrack. Lautenschlager has done a great job at bringing himself back into the contest. Lautenschlager, the driver out of Euless, Texas, and former Championship 5 competitor, has done it twice. He was in the Championship 5 round last season. Was not able to get it done at Homestead, but still a valiant effort by Lautenschlager regardless. And keep an eye on the 13. He tracks forward to Trevor Haley, who runs in 5th. There's the look at Kyle Benson, who sits in 4th. And the battle for the race lead still on, as there's Brandon Hawken set to unlap himself.
And Ethan's hoping to use Brandon Hawken as a pick of sorts to see if he can get past Adam Alishire at an opportune time. Here we are looking from above. Hawken with the grip will roll this inside. Ethan's trying to get the outside run over Alishire. We'll see here on corner exit if Alishire has any kind of moment here behind the 98. Doesn't appear so. So Ethan Fonseca struggling to get past this 98, but we expected this out of Alishire. He's been aggressive all night, was aggressive with Lawson Peel. He's trying to go out there and win a race.
Moreno's going to do all that he can to get around Adam Alishire. So far, it's 1, 2, 3, Alishire, Moreno, and Peel. We'll take another short break, but we'll be right back with more coverage of the 4 Wide Racing TJ's Team Series from the Phoenix Raceway.
Who wins the race? Kerwin! It is Demi Olat, the sophomore!
I give it all that I got.
Wanted the best, you got him 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live from the Phoenix Raceway, coverage of the 4 Wide Racing TJ's Team Series playoffs is brought to you by iRacing. Get your sim racing career started today at iRacing.com. By TJ's Team. To learn more about the Foundation's mission to end pediatric cancer, wear more than a cape.org. And Ryan Paul Settlement. Beautiful looks from practice earlier tonight. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson, the top 3 in the standings going into tonight's race. And here is where they stand right now. 124 laps in. Moreno is second place, following Adam Alshire. Lawson Peel attempted to pass to the inside, and Kyle Benson has caught up to fourth. So all 3 of the drivers, Francisco, back together.
And there was contact made between Peel and Fonseca a couple laps ago. Ethan was trying to cut off the bottom, and they ended up coming together in turn 2. They were able to keep it straight, no big damage to either car. But we noticed during the break, as the caution flag is going to wave here on lap 125, and we'll see exactly who brought it out and how that happened. But we were about to enter green flag pit stop territory, and we're about to talk about strategy. And this is going to throw a big wrench into strategy, because this is not enough laps left in this race to try and get to the end of the race on one tank.
We'll take a look at how the yellow flag came out. And it was right
Kelly
there.
again.
Curtis Kelly going sideways in this group of cars with Tyler Murray, AJ Green, and Colin Forrester. Going for a slide.
It looks like the same thing that happened earlier in the race.
So he's going to go sideways here, right with AJ Green, similar like he did last time, and it's almost a hit to the outside wall, but nothing crazy. And here are the leaders on pit road: Adam Alshire, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, Kyle Benson, Lawson Peel. Everyone else coming in this time through a lap 126, a crucial pit stop because it brings us right to the edge of the pit road window.
Someone's going to try the Brandon Banks strategy. That's a fact. However, I'm not sure how successful it'll be, especially if it goes green. We'll just have to see the performance on that front. Jaden Porter had just gotten his lap back, so we'll see if he decides to stay out to take over the race lead. Brandon Hawken is going to certainly bring it back down the pit lane. He had been out there for about 30 or so laps, as there you see Alshire is going to exit, and he should barely just keep the lead off of pit road. Ethan Fonseca will move up to second. Lawson Peel will be third, and that's the 38 of Kyle Benson in the fourth spot. So your top 3 in the standings are second, third, and fourth, Kenneth. This is what we've seen the last couple of weeks. These 3 have really just been around each other, and that's why it's been so difficult for any big shakeups to happen in the standings, with all of them being so competitive up in the front all the time. It's hard to get a gap or close a gap in that situation.
And even then, where multiple times throughout the playoffs, we have seen moments strike to where we'd say, oh, maybe one car is out of this for the race. Maybe that'll open up the gap significantly. Then all of a sudden it doesn't. I remember back at Dover when we had to break the announcement that Moreno got his win revoked for the penalty given after the race by league admins. And it said in the penalty that he was going to be placed 1 lap down from where he finished. And it seemed like a huge blow to Moreno's championship. It seemed like maybe at the Monster Mile, that was it. Then you look at the actual running order, and he's 9th. And it wasn't really that big of a shunt for him.
And you know, Kenneth, a lot of that actually helped him because of the strategy him and Jaden ran. Because he was placed 1 lap from where he finished, his alternative strategy put many cars a lap down. So, yes, not a win, but it still kind of was a Band-Aid effort by even trying that strategy attempt for himself, because it really gave him, I would say, probably an extra 5 or 6 positions compared to what it could have been. But at the end of the day, it's certainly not the win he expected, that he probably initially thought at the checkered flag, and it certainly still didn't help in the point situation. You probably could be sitting up here talking about close to a potential tie going into this race if you do the math, certainly within 5 points. But you just have to wonder what is going through his mind. You talked about in the pre-race just the up and down nature it's been in these playoffs for Ethan. Got the win at Richmond after going for the win at Rockingham on Lawson Peel, makes contact on the inside, goes for a half spin, loses several positions there before getting back up to 7th by the time the checkered flag waved. Lost a couple of points on that occasion. Had a top 5 finish at Daytona, of all places, with the amount of crazy stuff that happened there towards the end of the race. Has been super consistent, just really bad luck at really bad times. And now for this restart, oh boy, it's going to be interesting. You have the 6 car of Michael Newbrough, who has stayed out here, who's going to be on the inside right in front of him, and that's Adam Alashire and Lawson Peel, the first 2 cars on the outside, Kenneth. Oh boy, this is going to be something.
Newbrough is on 52-lap old tires, and his last stop clocked in at 6.5 seconds. Not even a 4-tire call.
Wow.
Out of 4, Newbrough has the lead. Alashire on the outside. Moreno, Peel, and everyone else are trying to set this up, but we are going to throw the yellow again. I don't think league admins were confident in the way this restart was formed, so we are going to go one more trip around Phoenix, and we'll get the restart. Crucial, though, Francisco, for drivers to save fuel, though.
It is, but I still think it's a far-fetch to go 70 laps, over 70 laps here on fuel between now and the checkered flag. Again, we saw most drivers do confidently about 60 to 65. 70 is really out there. Again, not impossible, but it just depends on how the race plays out between now and the checkered flag. Does it go green? Do we get other cautions between now and the end? And I think if we've gone about 20, maybe 30 laps on a stint and a yellow flag comes out, I think you have to bring it down pit road. We've seen tires matter enough, but also get yourself in the fuel window and just not have to worry about saving fuel and the old tire dilemma. But at that point, you would have to hope for it to go green to put those tires to the use, especially if you're on an alternative strategy like Porter was earlier. But as they work their way into the restart zone, it's going to be Michael Newbrough on really old tires going to the green flag. Gets a decent enough launch. Fonseca's going to be side by side with Adam Alashire. Newbrough is going to move up. They fan out as they work their way into the trial. The 21's going to get to the inside of the 6 car, so move Ethan Fonseca to the race lead.
Moreno has it, but for how long? Peel on the inside for second place. He wiggles at the exit of turn 2. It lets Alashire through. Newbrough is getting swallowed by the traffic behind him, but Moreno has control of the lead, and Peel falls back a bit out of 4. A wiggle by Alashire might get the 12. Back in it for second, but with 70 laps to go, Moreno back to the point, completing the comeback.
Who would have thought about this when he disconnected on lap 8, Kenneth?
I have no idea. It seemed as though he was going to be out of the race. He rejoined 2 laps down. He found some lucky yellows, but off of raw pace and strategy, Moreno finds his way back to the place where he led this race to start. Alashire continuing to hold up the rest of the championship. Traffic behind. A look on board from the 91. There's Peel. There's Benson in the red and yellow Cheez-It car behind. And here comes Peel on the inside. Moreno right in front of both of them. Alashire almost sent it in completely.
And Alishire's not giving up on the outside. You see he's fighting very hard to keep up with the second place. Eventually, how desperate does Lawson Peel get up to P2 to battle Ethan? And or to stay in front of Kyle Benson, because if they stay side by side like this, that invites the 38 in to do battle. But I think that cut of the dog leg, Peel will get enough of the nose in front to dial one up here and slide up in front of the 91. Almost gets into the back of the 21 in the process. Alashire is going to try the crossover.
You've got to be careful if you're Lawson Peel. The last 3 laps, he has been sideways out of turn 2, wrestling the race car just to keep it planted. And we saw what happened to Moreno in the last green flag run. Tried so hard to get by Adam Alashire and keep pace with him, and in turn just used up all of his tires to the point where all the competition behind were able to catch up. So if you're Peel, you want to make sure you stay patient behind Moreno, but that's one trait that we know is so usual for a driver like Peel. Francisco, no matter what happens, Peel has always kept his calm and composed nature. It's what's allowed him to be so successful, not only in this league, but in many others across the iRacing service. Here's the test, if he can get up close to Moreno.
This is the main battle right here. Of course, Kyle Benson not too far behind, so we're getting our money's worth here when we talk about these championship drivers and what they're capable of doing. Look how much he gains in the center of the corner by running the bottom, but loses out here just slightly. The run off the corner, I think the 21 might be trying to pace himself a little bit, prepare for a potential long run. That's what he's been doing. He's had a slight edge over Lawson Peel at some of these racetracks as of late in saving those tires and trying to do his best at keeping the track position and holding him off right now, forcing the 12 to use his tires and trying to send one up the inside like that on the bottom could be the key to doing just that. Almost contact there between those two, as Fonseca will keep the top spot, but we'll see just how aggressive Lawson Peel gets.
We haven't seen many punches attempted in 1 and 2 be successful or really land in that sense. Another failed attempt by Peel, as he's been sending it in 1 and 2, unlike what we've seen a little earlier where he's been a little more conservative entering the corner. He wants to dive it underneath Moreno, wants to give him the pressure. He's going to be door-to-door with the 21. Better success this time out of 2. Could be the setup for 3 and 4. We are door-to-door between 2 of the championship top 3.
And there was a slight flinch out of Ethan in 1 and 2, afraid of making door-to-door contact in that corner. And that kept Lawson Peel side by side through 3 and 4. It'll keep them side by side going back to turn 1. Peel in an unfavorable spot there in the inside and going upwards on the racetrack. You see the 21's trying to chop him up. Contact there. Peel's going to back out of it, and Ethan is able to save it.
And the 12 car holds on to it too. Tries to play defensive against Adam Alashire entering turns 3 and 4. Not real sketchy there. And look who's back on the lead lap with a chance to run through traffic again. Brandon Hawken in the 98 up to 5th.
Up to P5. And he's been fast in this race, Kenneth, but he's had some challenges as far as at the very front of the field, particularly that 38 of Kyle Benson, who was able to hold him off consistently in the early portion of this race. So it's not exactly a grant that he'll get past all of these cars. He's got his work cut out if he wants to try and win this race here tonight. Now hitting officially 60 laps to go here from the Phoenix Raceway. And there you see Benson looking to see if he could get past Adam Alashire and make it the top 3 in the championship, running 1, 2, 3.
And look at this, top 6 have pulled away from everyone else. It is a healthy gap between Craig Lauenslager in 6th, and then the 7th place car, AJ Green, about a 2nd and a 10th behind the 13. These drivers are certainly running away with it right now. And the question persists for Benson on how long does he wait until he attacks on Alashire, because at some point, Peel and Moreno have the opportunity to sort of walk away with this. And if Alashire holds up to 38, it could be desperate trouble for the Cheez-It car. And there's even more trouble looming as Brandon Hawken is caught up. A lot of pace behind the wheel of the 98 as always. And Hawken should be able to maintain position and be able to potentially get a pass done here.
Well, we've seen the 38 be able to hold off the 98. The question is, can he do it again at this point in the race, at this point in the run, in this traffic? As there's Jaden Porter getting past AJ Green. That is going to be for P7, as you see the big gap behind Craig Lauenslager there. So Jaden Porter also in a similar recovery drive as the 98, who was on a different strategy and was on the lead lap when that caution came out, and has to work his way through traffic, but he's up to P7. We saw Porter lead this race when his teammate disconnected, and it showed some pretty decent pace all night long. We'll see what he's able to do now that he's got some cleaner air.
Top 5 have thinned out from the rest of the field. Craig Lauenslager has sort of fallen out of touch from these drivers here. The 6th place car, you see that white and blue Ford Mustang slightly in the background there. That's who we're talking about in Lauenslager there. And now Lawson Peel has been able to keep touch with Moreno, although it really hasn't attacked that much like we saw early in the run. He's fallen back about 3/10 as we cross the start-finish line. Moreno clocks this one in at a 28-1, 28-2-4 for the 12 of Lawson Peel. So it seems as though Moreno is starting to pick the pace up, and Brandon Hawken goes to the bottom in 1 and 2 on Benson. That's the fight for 4th.
And Benson with the diamond off the corner is really going to force Brandon Hawken to have to lift there. Can't pull all the way up to the wall like he might want to for the ideal line, and that forces Benson to keep the position here as he's trying to figure out a way to get past the 91 of Adam Alashire. There you see Michael Newbraw getting lapped by the field as we speak. He stays to the inside. That's going to force most of these guys to have to run the outside.
Hawken attacks again, this time in 1 and 2. Many of those pass attempts have come right there at the exit of the 2nd corner, and it's been on Benson. Earlier in this race, we saw these two doing the same thing lap after lap to where Hawken wasn't really able to get by Benson. But as he hangs behind Adam Alashire, Francisco, when is do or die time as we approach 50 laps to go? Is there a rush to get around Adam Alashire? And if so, when does it really kick in?
He's going to need an opportunity. If he gets a big enough run to get to the inside, usually it will be the inside. He's not going to give him the outside, but if he gets a big enough run to go up the inside, he's got to try to get the car in there and make something happen out of it. If he can't do that, then he's probably going to be stuck. We've seen it be a bit difficult to pass here today, especially when the cars are running the outside like they are here for most of this run. So I think if Benson gets an opportunity to go up the inside, and I don't mean entering turn 1, if he's able to stay side by side off the corner with decent momentum, and it might help him out, but what isn't helping him out is the fact that he has to continue to hold off Brandon Hawkins run up the inside in 1 and 2.
And that's the best run we saw out of Hawken out of that corner, was able to be basically even with Kyle Benson that time by, and although Benson was able to get the better run off the corner, it's sort of that constant message, knock knock, Brandon Hawken is there, and he's not going to stop until he kicks this door down. This time he doesn't send it into 1 and 2, elects for a higher approach like he's done late in the run the last several times, and catching up to this group is Jaden Porter, who was at once a lap down off of a alternative strategy because he pitted at lap 52 while no one else did, and the Kentucky native is up to 7th and catching up to Craig Lautenslager.
The top 5 and really the top 6 are bunching up, so the field is closing in together, not really pulling away. I wonder if there's some fuel saving going up on the front of the field.
Not sure, but it looks
Hawkins
like
done it.
For Benson, he now has another car in front, but he's going to go right back on the inside. The crossover out of turn 2 for Benson. He slides in.
Oh, he slides.
From 3 and 4. He's going to stay with the 98, but this should be clearance for Hawken, and it is. Kyle Benson drops back to 5th. Big pass by Hawken.
And he knows he had to make that move because he has to finish ahead of Lawson Field to gain any points. Right now, he would be losing points and losing 2nd place in the standings with Ethan Fonseca currently leading this race with 50 laps to go.
And the gap between those two only continues to grow. Moreno put in a time at least a 10th faster than Lawson Field as they cross the start-finish line. Moreno will cross the line for lap 152 of 250 to go here in the semifinal race of the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series playoffs. Let's turn up the sounds and crank it up here on the KBueno Racing Network. beautiful V8 rumbles from the race cars tonight. Wrapping around Phoenix Raceway, we are 159 laps in, and just to give you a note, Tyler Murray in the 36 car has just visited pit road. He is a lap down in 20th because of the visit. So, Francisco, we are eerily getting close to pit stop strategy happening in the middle of a green flag run while the battle for the lead maintains at about 0.3 of a second. Your thoughts on just how close this is going to be, because I don't really know how this thing is going to pan out. It might just be exactly how it panned out last season.
It's very close, Kenneth. I mean, we've seen guys safely go about 60, 65 laps or so, and the restart itself was about 70 laps to go in this race, so it's very close, just a little bit out there. We saw Murray make his way into the pit lane as they see Fonseca catching up to traffic. That's Eric Schaefer, teammate of the 12 car, who's battling right now with the 77 car, I believe, but Fonseca will get to the outside of Schaefer, who doesn't cut the dog leg, and it allows Lawson Peel to get right back up to these two. But as I was about to mention, the situation with the pit stops and the fuel, if you pit under green here, you run the risk of losing laps and time if a caution were to come out, and that's certainly not ideal, and I think that's why these guys are mostly trying to stay out on the racetrack and wait it out and see what happens, let that resort itself. And you see Schaefer now will get out of the way for the 12th car, hopefully in an assist to give himself a better shot against the 21, but they kind of pulled away from P3, who's now Brandon Hawken, who's gotten ahead of Adam Alishire. And now we see the top two continuing to battle, but again, the fear of losing a lap on green flag pit stops and caution comes out is too high, and you have so much to lose. If you're any one of these three, you can't afford to try them.
And often when we've seen caution flags come out, they strike right in between these pretty sizable green flag runs. So you're looking at, you're right, a pretty big fear for these guys that yellow comes out at the worst possible time. We've seen it happen plenty of times throughout the season 6 schedule. Inside 40 to go from Phoenix. Moreno up ahead by 0.2 of a second over Lawson Peel, and there's Brandon Hawken getting around the lapped Chevrolet of Eric Schaefer, who has found his way back onto the racetrack. Question in chat by KBRN's very own Charlie Beyer. He says, this track can be tricky to navigate. Where does it place for you in terms of difficulty compared to other NASCAR tracks? Francisco, I'll start with you.
It depends on the kind of difficulty. I feel there's not one particular set of difficulties a racetrack can present. If we're talking about tire wear and handling, it's certainly up there because this track sits in the desert, so it gets real hot in the summers, but even their winters can get pretty cool with temperatures going down as low as about 40 degrees, and obviously in the summers well over 120 degrees. So such a wide range forces the asphalt to go through so much condition changes that it really affects how the tires wear here every time you run. And just the way the track is shaped, it's the only track shaped this way with such flat corners and relatively quickly at the same time. It's very difficult in that sense to really wrestle the car around here, especially turn 2. You're just sliding the car in a controlled slide right through here all the way until you get out here on the straightaway. So again, it depends on what kind of difficulty, because there's not really the same type. I would say Daytona and Talladega fall among the more mentally difficult in that sense, but this track physically demanding when you have to consider the difficulty of tire wear and handling.
That's a really good point, and from the driver's perspective too, about all the different factors that go into it, because a lot of people would say that Daytona and Talladega from a sheet of paper are the easiest tracks to drive, and you'd be right, but when you're thinking about going 195, 200 miles an hour in a really close pack of cars where disaster can strike at any moment, we bring it up often when we go to those super speedways, it just gets so difficult to be so precisely accurate every single lap and not flinch at all. We're watching Kyle Benson from 5th, and here he goes on to pit road.
Stops.
And here they go.
Hawken
The rest
as well.
of the
The top
leaders
two
are in. Really close fight. Alishire will stay out. Moreno, Hawken, Peel, Benson, and Lounslager take to pit road.
It looked like the 21 made a late call because he pulled in as soon as he saw the 12 pop on the brakes. So all of these guys are taking that risk. At least they're all following each other, so there's no big gains or loss. Now it's going to come down to performance on the pit lane. You cannot afford a pit stop speeding penalty here. We'll see just how effective getting in and out of the pit box is. You see the 21 and 12 pull in together. No problems there. The jacks are going up, so looks like no significant damages here to either one of those two.
Jaden Porter is going to stay out. There he is, coming out of turn 4. He will lap these guys and take over the race lead. Brandon Hawken away first. Moreno is going to beat all of them to the exit line along with Peel, so it will be Moreno, Peel, Hawken, Benson, and Laumslager, the exact same order as how they came in. Porter is going to stay out the extra lap. You know that Adam Alishire has also taken his car down pit road. Look at the gaggle of cars. Oh, sideways, and he goes into the inside wall. He saves it, but it's a really big blow for him.
He hit the car with the left front. Not sure if that has any suspension damage. You see the car's wiggling. Lost the position of Brandon Hawken. You see the left front is caved in. That is not ideal. Got loose with the cold tires in the midst of all that traffic. So a huge blow for your championship leader here.
He was trying to make sure that his
car
wasn't bent on the suspension. He gets into Patrick Thompson. 2 scares in about a lap and a half. Oh my.
That is not what you want if you're the championship leader. You want to avoid these kind of circumstances. You're the one that has the position. You can't afford to lose it. So here we are, exiting the pit lane, cold tires. There's the 21 getting past the 88. There's the 99 up in front, and the yellow flag waves. It looks like the 12 had gotten loose, will slam the inside wall. The 12 is not involved in the caution flag, but there is an incident out there on the racetrack at the moment with Jaden Porter out front, and it looks to involve the 75 of Nicholas Vituti. And I think very critical here, Kenneth, the first car 1 lap down was the 21 car, so that means he'll get his lap back. And that forces everybody else to have to take the wave around. So a huge difference in track position for the upcoming restart between your competition, as Craig Parks was the one who brings out the yellow flag with the engine blowing up.
Was hard into the inside wall off of turn 2. That's the reason for the yellow. He brings his car to pit road. And there is Jaden Porter, the man who stays out. Colin Forrester, Patrick Thompson, AJ Green, they are all going to come in with Trevor Haley to follow suit. Remember, these are all of the guys that have stayed out up until this point, and that is exactly what you talked about, Francisco, not too long ago. The fear of a caution coming out directly in the middle of stops, and as a result, it puts a heap of drivers a lap down.
Kenneth, I just noticed something. Jaden Porter, the race leader, stayed out. That means Ethan will get the wave around as he's the first car 1 lap down. Yep. But that means the 98, the 12, the 38, they can't get their laps back because the leader stayed out. That is a huge advantage for the 21.
They are all a lap down behind the PBR teammate of Jaden Porter. Unbelievable.
Wow, what an assist by Jaden Porter, but is that going to work out for him in his battle?
Remember, he is staying out on 47 lap old tires, while everyone else on the lead lap, call it 7 cars, back to Trevor Haley, who is still getting service on pit road. They are going to have lead lap position with fresh tires, while Porter will have to wait out this call, and he might just be completely destroyed by all of the traffic on fresher rubber. And Moreno, in the best place out of them all, is going to gain position, is going to be inside the top 5 with no
fresh tires.
Real playoff competition in front of him.
If you're the driver of the 21, now you're hoping this race goes green between now and the checkered flag. It's a huge opportunity, and the battle for the lucky dog is going to be between the 98 and the 12. So whilst he is battling for positions, that's going to be a battle to watch, because these cars are all going to have to now drop behind the lead lap cars. There you see now is Forrester, the first one to come out of pit road, is going to exit there. And I believe Ethan Fonseca will end up restarting somewhere in the top 5 just because of the amount of cars that are a lap down. Lawson Peel currently running in the 9th position. So yes, a lap down, but he's in the 9th position. So it's not all too bad for him individually. That just means that he'll lose points, but he can't gain positions. And he has that damage. We still have to remember that he has the damage on the car. It won't affect the car too much, but it might not make it drive ideally. We saw him swerving for a couple laps after the hit. So again, so much is going on in the last 5 minutes of this race, Kenneth. It'll really spice up the final 25 laps.
25 remain here in Avondale, Arizona. There's Colin Forrester to pick up Jaden Porter along with the rest of the lead lap cars. Now, again, like I said, 7 of them. Only 7 on the lead lap. And there's the cross of the start-finish line. Lights are off, and the iRacing official pace car will take this restart. And what's going to help Moreno even more is that he doesn't need just 1 caution. He needs multiple cautions in order to fully be under fire by the rest of those guys. Maybe if Brandon Hawkin gets by, I'm no biggie. But if Lawson Peel, Kyle Benson get by, then it becomes a problem. But they have to go one by one, and they need many yellows for them to get their laps back. So it's going to be very difficult for them to have a shot at winning this race as long as we don't get a flurry of yellows from here until lap 200. But here's the restart with 7 cars on the lead lap. Jaden Porter on 49 lap old tires versus 6 others on fresh rubber, with Moreno in a great spot to potentially take away the championship lead and have a good momentum run going into Homestead. He's going to have a lot of cars to get through first. Green flag in the air with 24 to go.
Ethan's going to have to make sure he doesn't get involved in any trouble. He's got a lot of cars with really old tires in front of him, and he has the fresh tires, so being on the lead lap is enough of an advantage, but he's going to watch that battle for the lucky dog as Hawkin is trying to make a move here to get underneath Lawson Peel. He's going to go 3 wide with Lawson Peel, almost makes contact. You see cars spreading around in there, but Lawson Peel's going to keep that position, and the yellow flag waves an incident further back.
And a car involved. I'd look to see who it is. Potentially Michael Newbraw.
And that Lawson Peel gets the free pass.
Get a wider look here in 1 and 2. 3 wide move ahead. It was Daniel Micho actually that went for the spin hard into the outside wall. He was running it in 7th. He was one of those cars on the lead lap. And he gets a pretty big hit. Look at the torn up Chevrolet Camaro for the 25.
So what this does, Kenneth, now the 12 will get his lap back, but he'll also have to restart in the back of the field like the 21 did. But the 21 can now restart at the front of the field since he's on the lead lap before the caution comes out. So Ethan will be able to restart somewhere in the top 5 potentially. And Lawson Peel, though position-wise he'll be where he wants to be, he won't have the track position. So again, it's a circumstance that could really work out for the driver of the 21, but he's hoping that Lawson Peel can't gain any spots, and he's going to have to do some driving of his own to get up to the race lead, again, just to maximize the point situation. So now that this has kind of worked the way it has already, he might not exit this race with the point lead itself, but he can certainly put himself pretty close with a shot, and that's all he needs. He needs a shot at Homestead Miami Speedway because anything can happen in one race.
One of Peel's best tracks, by the way, Homestead Miami. He's got a lot of damage here at Phoenix tonight. Look at that on the left front and a bit on the rear of the race car. And that's the question why he wiggled the car after the first amount of contact. I think he was checking to make sure that the toe link wasn't broken, the suspension wasn't broken. A heave onto pit road. But it's because of the new damage model with these Xfinity Series cars that was implemented mid-season, Francisco. That has surely changed up the game, because before you could get damage, but it would obviously be predetermined based on the hit, and it wouldn't be as dynamic. But with the new damage model, you're looking at full-on suspension damage. You're looking at very dynamic hits of the race car when you get into other drivers or walls. And with Lawson Peel there, I think he was just trying to make sure that his suspension wasn't broken first and foremost. He knows that it's not dire straits for him fully. He's back on the lead lap. He's going to come down pit road just for reassurance and a bit of that damage repair. We'll see if it helps him out.
Again, he's going to restart tail end of the field, much like the 21 did on this previous restart. Fonseca will be able to move up. You see him already doing so there, so he'll slot into the 5th position. Jaden Porter came down pit road, has some slightly fresher tires. He's going to restart in the 6th position. So again, the BBR drivers still have a chance in this race. They're going to have to get past some cars, but new life has been given to them to be able to try and carve out something here in the final 20 laps or so. Lawson Peel's going to hope to be able to try and get past all the lap cars or hope for a caution so that he can join them up there for the next restart if that were to be the case. So a lot that can still happen between now and the checkered flag. AJ Green, you see him, he's going to accelerate far enough ahead as we now get the 1 to green here, Kenneth. So inside 20 laps to go. How do you think this restart's going to shake out?
It's going to be hectic. I was expecting a crash between multiple cars entering 1 and 2, because when you have this specific type of scenario and a lot of hungry drivers, you're going to get some contact here and there. And what a move by Brandon Hawkin. You got to applaud him for what he did. Slicing through the middle, 3 wide. They made a bit of contact, but it really wasn't that crazy. And all of the 3 cars that were involved in that 3-wide scenario were able to continue on without a problem. And the wrecking car was only single. It was Daniel Michel by himself. Here's the restart. Stunts Motorsports occupying inside and outside of the front row with under 20 to go. Patrick Thompson and Trevor Haley running their best races here tonight, with Jaden Porter and Ethan Fonseca Moreno 5th and 6th. Lawson Peelback in 7th on the lead lap, but he is all the way at the back of the field. Green flag in the air. Here's Forrester with a run to turn 1. We're about 3 wide.
Ethan Fonseca's up to the 4th spot, has the fresher tires, should roll around the outside here. Brandon Hawken looking to the inside, again on worn tires, having been pinned 1 lap down, but he's trying to fight the 21. He's to the outside of Patrick Thompson. They're going to back out. There's a crash going on further back. They're actually able to keep it straight. All of that in front of Lawson Field, and here's hard into the wall.
Tony Kimmett has slammed the wall several times. He did so in 1 and 2, fresh off the restart. But he hasn't wrecked the car fully quite yet. We're going to stay green. There's Moreno to the inside of AJ Green for 2nd place.
It's important for him to not do anything that would throw this race away from him. He's in prime position to close the gap in. Yes, he can make these passes, but he can't risk too much. Again, just has to get to Homestead Miami Speedway. So if the 98 has a run like he does right there, all over his back bumper, you can't risk throwing this race away, racing a lap down car like Brandon Hawken right now. But he's going to try and get rid of AJ Green.
Just confirmation is Kyle Benson gets a tag of the outside wall. He'll lose some spots there. He
And there's
lap
Peel.
down, and there's Peel to the inside, still carving his way through traffic. That is not for lead lap position, but that one is Curtis Kelly on the inside.
And he's right behind Jaden Porter, so Peel's really made some short work of getting past those cars towards the further back end of the field, as there's contact between Alishire and Freeze, as Ethan Fonseca still hasn't gotten past AJ Green, so he still currently runs in the 3rd spot. All the while, Lawson Peel has moved up to 7th.
Physicality has turned up here at Phoenix Raceway with 16 to go. A reminder that the yellow and gray number 98 of Brandon Hawken is a lap down. He has no effect if he gets past Ethan, AJ, or Colin. He can unlap himself if he does get by the 99, but he is not on a lead lap position, so he's just here to unlap himself and get himself in a better position should a caution come out. He is the lucky dog candidate as we stand, coming to 14 laps to go, but he has to pray that a yellow flag comes out somewhere. We have seen some scares over the last couple of laps, Francisco. 14 to go this time, the onboard look from Forrester.
And can we just talk about how Colin Forrester has found himself in the race lead here? Much like Homestead Miami Speedway in the finale last season, out of nowhere, he finds himself up in the top spot, did not make the playoffs, had a disappointing season, has not gone to victory lane yet. Can he do it tonight in the same way he did last season, holding off AJ Green to do so?
Stocks Motorsports with a fantastic finish at Homestead Miami to close out Season 5. That was the location of Forrester's last win in the series, and the change to the Xfinity car wasn't a kind one for the Jacksonville, Florida native. Like you said, Francisco struggles all around. Tonight could be the turnaround and get a bit of momentum as he holds on to first. Green behind Moreno, sitting in 3rd, and I don't think there's any rush at all if you're Moreno, Francisco. The 2 ahead of you, one of them is a playoff driver, but with no real shot at getting the title. Moreno can just lock these positions down if he needs to, or if he has the run to, but he doesn't need to force the issue, just hanging out in the top 3 while everyone else deals with their business, and as Lawson Field continues to move up through the field.
Lawson Peel up to 6th. The next car for position is Trevor Haley, who's a couple of seconds up the road. Trying to see if he can close the gap. You see Lawson Peel running in 6th, ahead of Kyle Benson on the racetrack. Benson a lap down. Ethan Fonseca right now running in the 3rd spot, and with the bonus points he has collected here today, can still gain a decent amount of points on your championship leader. Obviously, it would be a lot better if he can pass those 2 up in front. But much like we talked about at Rockingham, you can't throw your race away in trying to get the 1 position, especially in this situation, especially with Lawson Peel further back. You already are going to gain points. Sometimes you have to just take what you can. We have 10 laps to go. We'll see what happens.
As long as Benson and Peel stay back, it really will help Moreno stay within at least low double digits or single digits as Benson again strikes the outside wall. But this run has been abysmal for the 38 car. Not what he was looking for, and still a lap down. Jesse Prees and Craig Lounslager continue to do battle for 10th place. Remember, Prees was involved in a spin that did not bring out a caution earlier tonight. His race is slowly getting back on track and has position for a pretty good finish here from Phoenix. But all the while, it is coming to 8 laps to go. Your top 3 have not moved an inch.
Fonseca's being very patient, knows he has to be, because he's already in a good enough spot. If he can get 2nd place, that'll be fine, but he can't force anything to happen here. He's in a good spot. He's just trying to see if an opportunity arises for him to get up there and then make the best of it. He gets a pretty good run off of turn 4. He's going to try and see what he can do here in turn 1. Does he go to the inside? He's going to try to hold around the outside. Green is going to slide a little bit, and you see it's going to force Ethan to just have to stay behind him. Can't really do anything there.
And what's good for Moreno is that Brandon Hawken really hasn't made any significant progress as Moreno unloads the pass for 2nd in turns 3 and 4. AJ Green's going to pin him down as much as possible and prohibit Moreno from making this pass, but he attacks the dog leg, transition on the apron. Moreno's back down to the inside, charging for 1 and 2. But like I said, Hawken hasn't made any significant ground on these guys. This battle could help his case, but he's just staying where he's at, not doing much, and Green is going to continue this battle with the 21. 6 to go next time.
And that helps Colin Forster pull away. As you see, the 21 does take over that 2nd spot. Can Green put the crossover? No, he can't. I don't think the 21 has enough laps to go out there and run down Colin Forster. So now move the 21 up to P5. The next spot available for this 12 car is the 4 of Trevor Haley. Still a couple of car lengths ahead. Actually, the 88 of Patrick Thompson, who's been passed by Trevor Haley, who's moved up to P4. What an effort here by Trevor Haley tonight. Easily his best run of these playoffs so far.
Really great run, but it comes too late for Haley's been at a championship and a really strong rookie season. He's built nonetheless. The Indiana native looking to hold off the New York driver in Patrick Thompson, who has turned this race around. Started this race pretty far back in the field, 24th at the drop of the green, and he's done a great job of putting himself on the lead lap, courtesy of that timely yellow, but then making the most of it, continuing this fight right in front of the lap car in Jesse Prees. Hawken is going to the inside of AJ Green on his pursuit to unlap himself. Green stays on
Moreno's
the top,
there,
and Moreno is only a 10th back of the race leader. There he is.
Again, how aggressive does he try to go for this race win? He's going to get very close to the back bumper. He swings up high. Is he going to try to get the runoff? He has 4 laps to try and go for this race win. If he really wants to, that would be a huge momentum swing in his favor, in his championship odds. Let's see how he plays out the next 3 laps.
This win, if Moreno can capture it, could send a tidal wave throughout the entire championship standing. As there he is.
He's got to run.
Big run in turn 1.
Forster blocks.
Runs to the outside. Forster defensive. Moreno fills the space up top. We are door to door for the lead. Looking for 2 to go at the stripe. And contact.
Oh, he's there. Contact.
Forster's in the wall. With Moreno right behind it, slows him
and
up.
there's AJ Green.
AJ Green is by. AJ Green is going to steal the race lead.
Unreal scenes. We saw him go aggressively. Both really were there. As there's the 21 trying to make sure Hawken can't interfere. So now the 21 has to do the same thing, but with AJ Green.
This is not over yet. Moreno makes contact with the Stonks Motorsports 99 and now has to get by another Stonks Motorsports.
He's got to run now.
Crossover, exiting turn 2. Moreno has the chance for the lead. Brandon Hawken right behind, yet to unlap himself, but at the line. This race is official. 7 cars on the lead lap after a timely yellow, which set Ethan Fonseca Moreno on this journey to the front. Still in the door-to-door battle with the
Don't count out AJ Green.
He's got it. Moreno to the front at the exit of turns 1 and 2. Hawken is going side by side with the lap car. Prees,
Green hard in the wall.
Contact. Almost into the wall goes Prees, and out of the final corner, the chance is still alive for the 21. Moreno, the winner from Phoenix Raceway.
What a comeback drive for Ethan Fonseca Moreno. He was 3 laps down after getting connection issues on lap 7. And what a comeback effort to get the race win here. And you see he's going to bring it down the pit lane to get it to victory lane. Wow, he had to make the pass for the win twice. Kenneth had the contact with Forster. as they were both sliding up off of turn 2. Forster got in the wall. It forced the 21 to check up. AJ Green got by, but it was not enough to hold off the 21. He was not to be denied this recovery drive. And once the points are done, Kenneth, we'll have to see just how it shakes out. Lawson Peel was able to get by Colin Forster, so he still gets a top 5 finish out of this. But this win is going to play a huge factor in terms of the final standings. And he's the first repeat winner of these playoffs, too.
He is. Officially, this time he earns his race win. Dover Motor Speedway was ripped away from him at the last second. We talked to him in victory lane when we thought he was going to be credited the W. He did not, with a post-race penalty, and it was utter heartbreak. Thought he was out of the championship, and we had an idea that Moreno could be out of luck in search of his first ever 4-wide title. But tonight at Phoenix, drops out of the session due to connectivity issues and rallies all the way back with a bit of good luck and a fast race car. Ethan Fonseca Moreno, for the 3rd time this season, will visit Paul's Setup Shop, Victory Lane. Well, this is the 4th win for Moreno. We thought the 4th was going to be at Dover, but it comes tonight in the penultimate race of the season. And there he is, parking on the start-finish line. We saw his teammate, Jaden Porter, right there with him to celebrate. And it seemed almost like a team effort, Francisco, between those two. With the way the caution came out, Porter had the lead, held on to business. And Moreno just took advantage of the situation while a bunch of the playoff competitors were a lap down. And he goes into a hard-fought battle with not one but 2 of the Stonks Motorsports cars, and he beats them all to the stripe.
A 200 IQ play by Jaden Porter to assist his teammate on that caution flag. But let's see if we can get a look at just what happened, both with Forster and then AJ Green, because that was an intense battle. He caught up to him in 3 laps. I didn't think he was going to get up there that quickly. But the 21 got up to Colin Forster, and I'm not sure if there was any contact off of turn 2, but certainly both of them were going well up the racetrack off of turn 2, and it resulted in a crash into the outside wall by Colin Forster. So here we are going down the front straightaway with 3 laps to go. Ethan's going to get very close to the bumper. He's going to try and swing up high. Actually, this is the lap before, I believe. So next lap is when you see the incident happen, but still, look at the drive that the 21 is able to put on. Has been really one of the fastest cars all night long. And even despite having to get around some of these other cars, it really was still a quick enough car. He gets a run off of turn 4. He's closing in on Colin Forster. Forster hangs low, trying to block the inside, and forces the 21 to go around the outside. And I think right here, Forster thinks, okay, I think I got him. But Ethan is able to hang on to the outside, and it looks like right there he gets tight. Does make contact with the left front of the 21, but I'm not real sure if that was tightness out of the 99. Probably didn't expect the 21 to be there. And then right here, this was a huge move by Ethan to hold off the 98 and not interrupt this battle for the win, because it allowed him to set his sights on AJ Green for the final 2 laps.
I know Colin is not going to be happy with the way that one ended. And his teammate trying to stand up for what happened to Forrester, chasing his win. And then Moreno with the fantastic run out of turn 2. Not one that AJ Green could just flat out ignore. Moreno dives into the corner, and despite the pressing by the 48 car, it was not enough to hold back Moreno from taking the lead. And that's all she wrote. Brandon Hawkin, the lap car, at that point knows he's going to finish the race a lap down in a hard-fought battle with Jesse Priest, who was also a lap down as well. And that was actually for the Lucky Dog spot. That was 8th. They make a bunch of contact off the wall. AJ slaps the wall off of 2. And there it is.
And Trevor Haley with the podium finish.
Yeah, Trevor Haley, the rookie driver, who's right behind that group, by the way, gets his best career finish of 3rd place.
So much to unpack.
There's a lot to talk about, and there are drivers to talk to at the end of this one. Here from the virtual Phoenix Raceway, we'll get a look at your full unofficial results as it stands. The 4th win of the season, and one that is pivotal in Ethan Fonseca Moreno's run at his first ever championship. AJ Green runs in 2nd, gave all that he got in those last laps, with Trevor Haley, the rookie, getting his best career finish in 3rd place. Patrick Thompson, got to give him credit too for stepping up late, comes up in 4th place. Lawson Field did all that he could in the waning laps to cut through the field, but it was not enough. He ends up 5th. Jaden Porter to come along in 6th place. Daniel Michel with a 7th place running. Certainly had a crash late in the race, but he was over everyone who was a lap down or more, so it helped him stay afloat. Brandon Hawk in the first car, a lap down in 8th. Jesse Priest in 9th, and Kyle Benson to round out the top 10. Francisco, we did not expect a bulk of these drivers to be a lap down. It took one caution to make that happen.
And the fear of the green flag pit stops, which he talked about before it happened, so certainly that played a role. But continuing down the order, Craig Lautenslager will finish in 11th. Curtis Kelly, after his 2 spins, will recover to the P12 position. Adam Alashire in 13th after being fast in the second half of the race. Tyler Murray will finish in 14th. Michael Newbro will finish in 15th. Brandon Banks, a contrast effort to what he had here last season, will finish in 16th. Colin Forrester will finish 3 laps down, as I believe he disconnected or took it to the garage after the incident, will finish 17th. Daniel Moore will finish in an 18th position. Ryan Pandiccio will finish 19th, and Tony Kibbett will round out your top 20.
And then behind them, 21st is Nicholas Vizzuti, followed by Craig Parks in 22nd, Craig Rowe in 23rd, Eric Schaefer in 24th, Kevin D'Elia, Christopher Bishop, and Cody Kinsey among those who had wrecked race cars near the end and close out our entire field here from Avondale, Arizona. We have a chance to talk with your race winner for the 4th time this season. This is probably the most important win for Ethan. And there it is, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, the winner here from Phoenix Raceway. And Ethan, how does it feel to complete a monumental comeback? You disconnect early in the race from the lead, you fall 2 laps down, and throughout the entire race, you spent playing catch-up until the very end to where you're back on the lead lap. A bunch of other drivers are a lap down, and you have a chance at the race win, and you get it in the last several laps of the race. What was that like? And what are the emotions, raw and all, after tonight's win?
You know, I'm not sure what the point situation is looking like, but as Kobe said, the job is not done. So got one more race to go. I'm happy to get this win. This was definitely hard fought for this one. I was on a mission to go win this thing. So I thought it was over when I lagged out, but you know, I stayed in it. Glad everything went the way it did. Jaden, big shout out to him. He played a teammate game today, and oh man, that was a lot going on.
And talk to us about that moment to when the yellow flag came out in the middle of green flag pit stops. Everyone almost went a lap down apart from 7, and that included you getting your lap back later on. What was the reaction like in the team chat between you and Jaden once that monumental moment went down?
I had no idea that he was in the lead until when I caught up to the pace car. But I thought that I'd probably have a good chance to get some good points here to gain on the championship league. I had no idea that I had the pace to go and win the race. I was just hoping that we'd go. I was honestly content with finishing like 5th or something like that before the next caution came out. So yeah, I'm lost for words. This was huge.
And huge specifically after what happened at Dover, to where we talked to you in virtual victory lane. We thought you had the race win, and then we made the announcement later on to where they gave you the post-race penalty, and you were fallen to a lap down from where you finished. How were you able to use that as fuel to not only continue on in this series, but to push and keep yourself relentless the way you have, with now a 3-point gap between yourself and championship leader Lawson Peel heading into Homestead?
Yeah, I knew the goal for the rest of the races was to win out, and obviously I haven't won out yet. But I mean, or won out, not even yet. But you know, good finish to keep myself in at Pocono and a win today. I'm not sure where Lawson finished, but I feel like that's a good big gain there. Led laps. yeah, just need things to go my way for the next race.
And Homestead, Miami, next up. Before we let you go, Ethan, final thoughts about this win and what's to expect with one race to go.
Well, as I said, this was a huge win. Needed it a lot. Kind of nerve-wracking to see how the points go and try to set up a plan for the next race. But yeah, the goal once again, as every week is to go win. So that's what I'm gonna try to do.
One race left, 3 points away from Lawson Peel. Sure to be a showdown in South Florida 1 week from tonight. Ethan, on this win here from Phoenix, anybody in particular you want to thank for the run?
Gotta thank the team. Huge thanks to my teammate. As I said, he played a teammate game, so that was huge part in tonight's success. So, thanks to also shout out to Reem for being on the hood today. All the other partners, KBRN, Reese's, Splash and Go Graphics for making this design, and yeah.
Well, Ethan, as always, we really appreciate the time. Congratulations on this big win from Phoenix Raceway with a shot at a title in your first ever 4-wide season. I'm sure that's going to mean a lot. Homestead next up. We'll see you in the championship finale.
Thank you.
That's Ethan Fonseca Moreno, this time officially getting his 4th win of the season here at the virtual Phoenix Raceway in stunning fashion, and he did so by beating the 48 of AJ Green in the waning laps, who's caught up with our very own Francisco Bacallao.
Well, AJ, it was a thrilling finish there between your teammate and Ethan Fonseca until the contact with 3 to go, but that put you in position to go for the win. What more did you need to come away with a victory?
I needed more turnoff on exit. I was super tight all race. I was using way more right front than all of my teammates and everybody in the voice chat that I was in, which probably was credited to me using my Logitech stuff again because I'm in a hotel, and I'm even surprised I got a top 3 this week.
Well, you almost got the race win in that hotel, so maybe pull it out again for next season?
I've been doing at least one hotel race a season. The other ones haven't gone according to plan, but this one actually it went well.
Well, we do know that there's now 1 race left in the season, one more opportunity for you to try to go to victory lane. As a driver who's been mathematically eliminated from the championship contention, I'm assuming your goal is to just go into Homestead and try and go for the win.
Oh, 100%. Me and Colin pulled strategy and stayed out late in this race, and I wouldn't be shocked if you see us doing that next week. It's how we got I think a 1-2 finish last season. We just stayed out, caution game out. We got lucky and we finished 1-2. So we're gonna hope to do that again.
And of course, before we let you go, AJ, we'll give you the floor to get the shout outs to everybody that helps makes this happen for you, your Stonks Motorsports team, and of course, your ever so interesting palette of paint schemes.
Shout out to Stonks, Skybox. Shout out to my parents, you guys, and shout out to this table for actually holding my Logitech wheel, and I don't have to race on a countertop.
Shout out to tables. They do a lot of heavy lifting for us.
That was the Austin Reedy setup tonight.
It was.
Oh, man. We appreciate the time you take with us, AJ, and we wish you luck going in Homestead, Miami.
Thank you.
That's AJ Green back in 2nd place. And when I say Austin Reedy setup, I really mean it. Not to diss Austin, but he's always traveling, always in a hotel, and every time he sends a picture of his rig, it's always a wheel clamped to a desk, a laptop, and a dream.
Timmy Hill.
Yeah, that's all that Austin Reedy has. But AJ Green, phenomenal 2nd place finish. And like he said to you, Francisco, gunning for the win at Homestead in Miami and gunning another 1-2 finish like the team did, Stonks did back at Homestead last season. We'll talk to the last driver on the podium tonight, and it is rookie driver Trevor Haley. First of all, welcome. All season long, you've had some good finishes along the way. Our first time talking to you, I'm sure that this finish for you means a lot after a trials and tribulations throughout your rookie season in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. It hasn't necessarily gone the way I wanted to, but get a good finish here. It means a lot. So hopefully we can go into next week and finish off good.
And talk about the fights you encountered along the way. A great battle with Patrick Thompson near the end, a really fast race car. What turned on for you either halfway through the race or at some point in the race to where you just were able to click off these fast laps and you were running so competitively within the traffic?
Yeah, I don't know, because I was struggling in practice, but as soon as the race started, I felt pretty good about it. And I drove up to like 5th, I think, and then we pitted on one of the green flag pit stops, and the caution came out, and I got trapped a lap down. I was able to battle my way back up there and get a good finish.
It's your best finish in the playoffs since Daytona, where you got a P6 effort, but here a top 3. What does that mean for you in your rookie season, and what does that mean for the momentum's sake just to close out the season at Homestead on a high note?
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, the playoffs haven't gone the way I wanted to. It seems like every time. I got a good run going, something happens, but it means a lot. Hopefully we can carry this momentum on to Miami and finish the season out strong.
Well, it's certainly awesome to talk to you and awesome to see you capture a 3rd place finish tonight from Phoenix, demonstrative of the speed you've carried all season long. And even if the races didn't go your way near the end just because of anything or outside factors, we know you've put up a phenomenal rookie season as it stands. Trevor, before we let you go, before we send you and the rest of the field off to Homestead next Wednesday, anybody you want to thank in particular for the run?
Yeah, I think thanks for Tyler for setting all this up. Thanks, you guys broadcasting every week. You all do a great job. Thank my team owner, all my friends for watching. It's been fun. Looking forward to next week.
Well, Trevor, one more thing. Timothy Diamond Productions has been in our YouTube chat basically the entire season, has always been a huge supporter of you and the Dark Horse Racing team, and he says, top 3 for my driver, Trevor Haley. Good run for Dark Horse Racing. Good job. So a lot of support on your end and a lot of support from us as well. Congratulations on the 3rd place run from Phoenix tonight, and best of luck in the season finale at Homestead, Miami.
Thank you.
Trevor Haley, the rookie driver, coming home in 3rd place. What a run to remember by the 4 car as he closes out our podium segment of interviews for tonight. Let's jump into, Francisco, what the point standings look like after tonight's race from Phoenix. 3 points it is between Lawson Peel and Ethan Fonseca Moreno. 1 race left at Homestead to decide it.
It's basically all up for grabs. It's so interesting just how the playoffs have worked out, the ups and downs, and here we are entering the final race of the season, and it's as close as you can script it. Kyle Benson, of course, being 14 points now, is not out of it, but still it will be very difficult for him to make that comeback. Is certainly going to need some help from bad luck to Lawson Peel and Ethan Fonseca to have a shot, plus winning the race, of course, will help that. Jaden Porter essentially has locked up P4 in the standings, and now Patrick Thompson has now moved up into the 5th position in the standings ahead of Brandon Banks. So Patrick Thompson trying to see if he can become the 2nd rookie this season to capture a top 5 standings finish. AJ Green with P2 is moving up to 7th after spending several weeks in the last spot. Kenneth is hoping to have a sizable finish to these playoffs and really get a solid points finish. Trevor Haley has moved up to 9th in the standings. Craig Lounslaughter drops massively down to 11th, and Adam Alishar, despite his poor finish after a good run, will be in 12th in the standings. And you can kind of see just where everybody else stands out, Kenneth. But I think with good reason, as we enter our final race of the season, the eyes will be glued to your top 2. Just 3 points. That, when you don't consider bonus points and all of that play a huge role in determining the exact situations, let's say a 0x bonus or getting a low incident count or even fastest lap and pole times. When you exclude all that, that's just 2-3 positions out there on the racetrack. So it's going to be interesting to see just how exactly that game has worked out for 167 laps at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Lawson Peel, very good there, a previous winner, but in different racing series, we've seen that 21 be very competitive at Homestead Miami Speedway. And of course, we've seen the comebacks he's been able to do here. This would be one for the ages if he's able to pull this one.
It's head-to-head going into Homestead in Miami, and look at that. Through the top 10 in the standings, all 4 rookies that are in their playoff debuts. Really impressive by all of them as we head on to the final race of the season. No more points racing For a long stretch, it's just one race, and that is it. We will have special coverage of the championship finale from Homestead and Miami Speedway, what's set to be a title fight between Ethan Fonseca Moreno and Lawson Peel, as they're only separated by just 3 points. Coverage begins May 1st on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. For the green flag drop, we will have our special coverage prior to that. We'll get all the driver interviews and more content ahead of what's set to be another stunning end to a 4-wide season, this time in 2024. Well, it was a great one tonight from Phoenix Raceway. Ethan Fonseca Moreno gets his 4th win of the season, and we've got a title fight to decide at Homestead of Miami. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you're able to join us next Wednesday. For Tyler Murray and everyone from the admin team and race council at 4 Wide, for Charlie Beyer and Keelan Belsha for all their work at the KBueno Racing Network, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Francisco Bacallao, I'm Kenneth Bueno signing off from Avondale, Arizona. Moreno the winner, 3 points to settle it between Peel and Moreno heading into Homestead Miami Speedway.